Welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, guys?
Folks, the day has finally arrived. We will be covering Copa America, Euros, and the OFC Nations Cup in the next 41 days. We're going to go absolutely crazy. So make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all of our content, because we're going to be covering all these teams in every single game that happens this summer. I cannot be more excited, and it starts with the Euros in Germany.
Yeah, honestly, I can't believe it's here. I've been waiting for this moment since the final whistle blew at the World Cup. Next thing I was really excited for internationally, honestly, was the Euros, just because there's so many narratives to look out for, man. Bro, and we're going to go in depth in each specific story. There's England, there's France, there's a feisty Portugal side, there's the reigning champions in Italy. Hosts Germany? Are you kidding me? What a story that's going to be. But then there's some other really interesting teams that are going to make their appearances known, like Hungary, Austria, for example. There's just so many teams that play high quality football. There's going to be a jam-packed summer in Europe.
The Euros are just 11 days away. 24 teams will be competing for the biggest international trophy in Europe. And the last thing to preface is that 4 out of 6 third-place teams will be going through to the round of 16. So that's something to note while we do these group previews. But, bro, let's start with Group A, where host nation Germany is matched up with Switzerland, Scotland, and Hungary. How do we want to start this, bro? I'm eager to get a lot of these takes out, but do we want to start with a really hot take that I have brewing up, or should we go into it? Should we ease into this conversation, bro? Should we? Tell me what to do here, man.
Dude, I want to start with Germany. We have to, bro. Okay. Hosts of the Euros. And just fun little facts here. This is actually Germany's first time hosting the Euros since they reunified the West and the Eastern portions of the country. Obviously, they hosted the 2006 World Cup as a reunified Germany, but beyond that, they had games in Munich at last time out's European Euros, and then West Germany hosted back in the 80s. So honestly, this is a really special moment for the entire country of Germany, as there will be games played in East Germany hosting the Euros. I'm really excited about that.
What is it, 18 years since the 2006 FIFA World Cup, a tournament that I thought they did an incredible job hosting. I'm excited to see a final at Olympiastadion once again, one of my favorite stadiums in world football. Germany arrives into this tournament ranked 16th in FIFA's rankings, coached by the one and only Julian Nagelsmann. Which version of Germany will show up, bro? That's my biggest question going into this team, because we've seen them go through some very high highs and some very interesting low lows. You have the return of Toni Kroos as he's looking to close out his career here at home for this tournament. And then you have a jam-packed squad, bro, with so many names. Kimmich, Gundogan, Musiala, Toni Kroos, Füllkrug, Florian Wirtz, Rudiger, Sané, Müller, just to name a few. This team is stacked, bro. And at their best, they could be a contender for the title.
I asked myself the exact same question. Which version of Germany are we ultimately going to see? If you look at last year's Germany results, it's horrendous, bro. They lost 5 of those 9 games in 2023. They only won 2 of them. They were in absolute shambles. And when you look at all of their past performances since they won it in 2014, Germany really haven't showed up, bro.
Major tournaments?
Major tournaments, it's been atrocious. Dude, it's been worse than Mexico. Their transitionary phase from that golden generation.
I gotta bring them up, bro.
I'm trying to relate to the American people here. And if it's been bad for Mexico, bro, it's been actually worse for Germany. Seriously, because 2 group stage exits at the last 2 World Cups. Group stage exits. We're talking about one of the most storied, most glorified teams in international football. They can't get out of the fucking group stage. Man. It's kind of pathetic when you really think about it. Now, obviously, if you've been watching, you shouldn't be too surprised by that. And then the last time out Euros, they had a measly round of 16 exit. So Germany have severely underwhelmed for the last 8 years. And it's just so non-German of them to actually do that. But here's what's crazy, man. March happened. March 2024, and all of a sudden, Germany's energies are completely different, man.
That's what they're trying to tell me. That's what they're trying to tell me.
And the thing is, I think I kind of believe it, but you know why?
Buying in?
I think I'm buying in. Here's why. I think in those friendlies that happened 2 months ago, the German team realized one thing, that they're going to be hosts of the Euros. And they looked around the camp and they're like, oh, we have some of the best players in the world. We can't and we're not going to miss this opportunity.
Like a reality check.
It was a reality check.
They woke up.
Then Julian Nagelsmann also makes that same realization. He's like, I'm a good coach. I have some of the best players at my disposal. Let's play fluid football. Let's bring Toni Kroos, a Real Madrid legend who just won the Champions League. Let's bring him back into the fray. Everyone else is in such good form realistically at club level.
Amazing.
It'd be so dramatic and disastrous if Germany don't have a good Euros. I think they've realized what is at stake, and I do believe that they're ultimately going to show up.
They're contenders. They're contenders. I cannot deny that, and I don't think many people can, because you look at the names, it truly is contender worthy.
Yeah.
I want to pose this question to the audience. Which version of Germany do you think will show up? I want to know what you guys think and get you guys involved in this conversation. I agree, though. The past recent results that we've seen from them have been really impressive, and the host factor is the biggest one. Given that it's a continental tournament, we just saw Qatar host the AFC Asian Cup and win it, and we just saw Ivory Coast, lift the AFCON to win it as they hosted the tournament as well. I mean, it's in the works, bro, for Germany, and you could say the USA, but Germany for sure looking to do something special in their home country. I do want to mention a few players that didn't get included in the squad. It's something that I'm going to do throughout the preview is for the big teams, since they're so deep, I think it's interesting to bring up players that got excluded and kind of decide which of these players would have had an impact, or if Nagelsmann was right to keep them out of the squad. You have Goretzka not making the team, Mats Hummels, Julian Brandt, Adeyemi, and then Stefan Ortega as the biggest omissions. Are any of those guys big misses?
I think the one that really surprised me, just because of the name and what he's done over the last 3 years at Bayern Munich, is Leon Goretzka. That one really shocked me. Because I thought he would have at least gotten called up. Maybe not even play or start, but be in rotation. He didn't have the best year. He actually got benched in that second leg against Real Madrid, and the youngster Pavlovic ended up getting the call up in that starting midfield position. And I think that just kind of shows where Goretzka is right now in this moment. He's not playing his best football, but it just... honestly, it's pretty depressing for him specifically when you think about it, bro, because imagine you're in your physical prime. You're playing for one of the best clubs in the world at Bayern Munich. You've won the Champions League with him, and you miss out on the opportunity to represent your country in your own nation. Yeah. That's crazy,
it's on him, though,
man.
bro. It's on him.
It is.
I think he didn't live up to what I think was expected to him, given the trajectory he was on when he was really young. I remember he's not a disappointment, but I mean I can see why Nagelsmann would ultimately opt to not have him in the squad.
It's just it gets even more sad though, because he launched like a social media campaign before Nagelsmann chose the German squad, and he was like, hey, I really love Germany, basically. Like, I've been playing good football. I would love to represent Germany at this year's Euros. He like tweeted that essentially. Yeah. And then Nagelsmann, like 2 days later, nowhere on the list is Goretzka. That's crazy, man.
And low key, if you want to continue on with that trend, Dortmund got fucked.
Yeah.
Dortmund got fucked. And not just with Germany. Sancho didn't get picked for England either. So no Sancho, no Julian Brandt, no Hummels, and no Adeyemi. Players that were playing in the Champions League final just a few days ago won't be playing in the biggest tournament of the summer here in the Euros, bro. Yeah. That's surprising to me.
It is surprising when you look at the starting 11, though, and I think this is where we can sort of get into it. It kind of makes sense that a lot of the Dortmund players didn't get picked. No Hummels kind of makes sense because if you look at the starting center backs for Germany, it's going to be Antonio Rudiger, right? Real Madrid 100%. UEFA Champions League winner, and probably Jonathan Tah right alongside him, who's probably going to go to Bayern Munich over the summer. Just had an insane season with Bayer Leverkusen. Those are two insanely good center backs for Germany. And I just don't really think you need Hummels. Even though he was really good in the Champions League this year, he realistically just wouldn't play. You have Schlotterbeck in the ranks to come on for either an injured Rudiger or Jonathan Tah. So I think, honestly, the center back position, you just don't need Hummels. And then for Julian Brandt, I think the players that Nagelsmann is bringing and the type of offensive football he wants to play, I don't know if Brandt really has a place in this German team, bro.
He's been looking for one for a long time, and he really hasn't found it, dude, with the national team. And I think there's better offensive players that do what he does, like Florian Wirtz, for example, that are going to get the call up instead.
Exactly. When you look at this offensive shape that Nagelsmann likes to play, he might have one of the more fluid offenses here in Europe. You could play Leroy Sané on one side, Jamal Musiala on the other, and that's just insane directness, really good dribble penetration from either side. It'll give you a really good cutting edge going forward. And then and a guy like Musiala, he likes to cut inside, and you could have Leroy Sané just hug that touchline and be an out-and-out winger. Or you could play Florian Wirtz in one of those positions, and he'll definitely cut inside more often than not and be more of a creative type of midfielder, winger, hybrid player. So there's such fluidity that Nagelsmann could use in this offensive lineup. I don't think it really works if you try to play a traditional number 10 like Julian Brandt.
Yeah, the talent is ridiculous. Germany reminds me a lot of Argentina prior to the 2022 FIFA World Cup, where you look down the list, it's just amazing player after amazing player. But I do think a lot of this run for Germany is going to come down to Nagelsmann and how he manages the team, the spirits of the players. The names are there to win a title, but I think he has to emulate Scaloni in a way and find the right solution, play the players that are best informed and that have the best chemistry together to ultimately thrive. Because I think that's what's holding Germany back, is that there's this, whether it's a mental aspect, whether it's a dynamic aspect, they have the players to win big trophies and not get grouped the way they did at the World Cup these past 2 times. So they shouldn't, but I just get scared that maybe they get in their heads again. And I hope Nagelsmann ends up being the pivotal point, the guy that keeps them from that happening.
Yes. Nagelsmann has so many choices to make, but like you said, and dude, this is such a good point actually. He could pull a Scaloni here and change the team as the tournament goes and eventually find the best form for them going into a late knockout stage run.
I think we're going to see that.
I think so. Because, I mean, look at the striker position. He could go with a traditional line in Füllkrug, who's been fantastic this year, or he could go with a false nine in Kai Havertz, who has been honestly pretty decent in that position for Arsenal this entire season. So there's an option there. And left back, he could either go David Raum, he could go Mittelstadt, who went off for Stuttgart this season, or he could go with RB Leipzig's Benjamin Henrichs. There's not a starting left back that has made their name for Germany quite yet, so that spot's wide open too. If Nagelsmann gets these positions right, I think you could build a really effective Germany team.
What's the expectation? Where should they go? Where should they land? I think it's quarterfinals minimum.
Yeah,
minimum, bro.
I'm going to put a little bit more pressure. I'm going to say semis minimum. They have to ride this host energy wave, bro. Oof. And you already kind of mentioned it. If anyone saw Ivory Coast run this January, it was all host energy. Yeah. They had a poor group stage, but they got lucky to get in the knockout stage. But after that, they were completely dominant. But it's because they were riding that wave of being hosts, of having the crowd, 100% of the crowd right behind them in every match. Germany's going to get that. And then to boot, they have some of the best players in the world. Dude, we haven't even mentioned İlkay Gündoğan, who's going to play right underneath Germany's insanely good offensive three. Gundogan's the perfect guy. He's box to box. He can do the defensive things, but obviously we've seen it at Barcelona and Manchester City. He's so good when he gets involved offensively, either off the pass or genuinely in front of goal. He's so deadly. That's what Germany have. You have Toni Kroos to kind of set the tempo as
Tony's
well.
Back.
Exactly. And then this will be Manuel Neuer's last year's. It has to be. It has to be.
You won't let it go any further?
We can't, bro. He's what, 38?
He's old, dude.
37, something like that?
Yeah, this might have to be it for him. So, yeah, you have the narrative of Neuer and Kroos playing their last tournament, major tournament for the German national team. I mean, it'd be beautiful to see them go out on top in the classic German way at home. I agree, dude. This talent, the roster is so stacked. I'm saying if they find their momentum, if they find that perfect 11, they could be champions. They really, really could. They're paired up in this group with Hungary, Switzerland, and Scotland. I'm just going to get very hot off the bat. Let's have a discussion. Let's have some fun. I have Hungary topping this group.
Oh, I love that. I love this.
I have Hungary topping this group, coached by Marco Rossi, ranked number 26 in FIFA's rankings. This Hungarian team embodies team football. If you look at the recent history and how they performed at the past Euros, at Euros 2020, they were drawn into a group with Germany, France, and Portugal. They struggled, but they still held their own, doing so without Dominique Szoboszlai at the time, who was injured. Now he's back and healthy, and a lot of these guys are back and healthy with Milos Kerkez as well, Callum Stiles, Roland Salai, Adam Nagy, Logic Nego. This team has such a good team dynamic and chemistry right now, and the biggest thing, the biggest argument I have for why I think they're going to do really well in the group stage specifically and end up topping Germany is the fact that they have not lost a single match of football since September 2022, the longest unbeaten streak in Europe and the second longest in the world, right behind the Colombians, who are going off as well. And I think they share some very similar traits, both of these teams.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, bro, because of the things that we mentioned about Germany, in the sense that I don't know if I can fully trust them off the bat. I don't know if they'll find their form within 1 or 2 games. I think they might get there. And I think that's why they're considered contenders, because once they do, they're going to go off and they're going to play incredible football. But I believe that Hungary, right off the bat, right off the jump, will know how to play against the teams they're playing against. They have their defined roles already set, and they have the trust and chemistry needed to top this fucking group, bro. So I truly do think they're going to surprise a lot of people. And even if they don't end up topping the group, I think they're making it out in second. And they're going to make a big statement on this stage that the Hungarians have arrived, bro. And I'm actually really excited to see that.
I'm so excited to see Hungary, bro. I second your opinion here. Let me think about if they're going to top the group. Let me say what I have to say, and then I'll recalculate. But, dude, they qualified in style, dude. I think that has to be mentioned again. Unbeaten in European qualification, 16 goals in 8 games. It's an elite offense, but you can just see it in the way they play. There's a swagger. There's a really infectious energy about this side. And you already alluded to it. It's the team aspect. This is one of the most cohesive squads at the Euros, because every single player has a very defined role. And when you look at it piece by piece, the quality actually isn't impressive. That's what makes this Hungary team even more special. That midfield, Adam Nagy and Callum Stiles, they both play in second division leagues in Europe.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. Loic Nego plays in France, but for a lower team. But it doesn't mean that he's not a good player. He's actually instrumental in providing width for this Hungarian side. And when they win the ball in midfield, they go.
We're gone. We're gone.
We're
go. Hungry.
No, seriously. They commit so many men forward that no matter who they've played over these last 12 months, they score every time. Not a single defense has been able to cope with the Hungarian offense, but it's because they're so collective. It's because they're so defined. And it really is, I do believe, because of the personnel that they have, but it's the belief that they have under Marco Rossi. And I want to mention a couple things about this guy, because he himself is having a crazy story with his Hungarian side. He coached in the Hungarian league in the mid-2010s, and he actually took one of the Budapest teams to a Hungarian title. And after winning, he was like, this is it. I want to leave on the top. I love Hungary. I don't want to do any wrong to this team.
Damn, like Zidane then at Real Madrid.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he left, and after about a year, the Hungarian coaching position opened up, and he got the position. Wow. And ever since then, bro, they've gone on this meteoric rise, starting in the Euro 2021, where, they were in a really difficult group, but they didn't do that bad, honestly. And since that moment, they've just been getting better and better and better. So much so that, the Hungarian country, the government, they're making a documentary about Marco Rossi. Rossi himself has said that he himself feels that he's Hungarian, not Italian anymore.
Wow,
it's
I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's nuts. And also, just fun fact, Marco Rossi played for America when he was a pro.
Club America?
Club America. So he's got a connection
ties, baby.
Mexican tie, bro. Yeah. So it's just, there's so many stories even outside of what's going on the pitch that it just makes this Hungarian tale all that more interesting. Yeah. But then when you go to the pitch, as I already mentioned, there's some really interesting stories, but one that has to be said, captain of this team, Dominik Szoboszlai, your very own Liverpool attacking midfielder.
At a tender age of 22, 23 years old, I believe, captaining this side and, bro, showing the fuck out, man.
Oh, my God,
Showing the fuck out. Free kick goals, free kick assists, set piece assists, goals from outside the box, from inside the box, however you want it, dude.
You want it.
I look at the score sheet so many times for Hungary, and he's on there, bro, routinely. And that's really, really positive to have that one guy up front, or just that one guy you can rely on for a superstar moment, because in these type of tournaments, I think he's going to stand out. And especially considering the fact that he wasn't here this last time around, I think he's really going to take it upon himself to be the captain, be the leader for this young and hungry Hungarian Hungarian side. I also want to add in the fact that Hungary isn't that far away from Germany, bro. It's not that far away if you look at the location. So I could actually see a lot of Hungarian fans coming to these games to support the team. So it'll almost be like a second home, I think, to them playing in Germany. And so it's for all those reasons that I say this, bro. I have them going to the quarters. Yeah. I got Hungary in the quarters, and that's why I have them topping the group. I think they'll get a favorable matchup in the round of 16. They go to quarters. From then on, I don't know what the fuck will happen, but I do have them topping the group, surprising people, and making it really far in this tournament.
I hope they do. I have quarterfinals as well for this Hungarian side. Honestly, I almost want to put that dark horse label on them because they aren't title contenders. But my God, if this team catches fire in this tournament, they can go very, very far. Their offense is that deadly, especially when you have a free roaming Dominik Szoboszlai who literally does everything offensively and he's happy to do it. My only question is, this team has never done this before.
Nope.
They've never been on a stage this big. Obviously, they were in the last 2 Euros, actually. This is their third straight, which is great. But they've never been in this form, right? They've never been this hot. So I think there's that external pressure that people know, okay, this is the best Hungarian side since the fucking 60s, man. Since there was Ferenc Puskás was back.
You're right.
This really is one of the best Hungarian sides in a very, very long time. I'm amazed that they've gone this long, this hot. I'm a little nervous. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm a little nervous that the moment gets a little too big for these players. I hope it doesn't. I hope that that's not even a thought that's going through the Hungarian minds. Because honestly, if they just play the way that they've been playing, which is very systematic and very free-flowing, they're going to have a lot of success at this tournament because, as I've already said, their offense is just too good for most defenses. But I just hope the lights don't get too bright. That's it.
I agree, man. That's why the question I'm going to pose to Hungarians watching this part of the episode is there a limitation to team football when there aren't that many quality players? We're going to find out. Because they play incredible team football. We've highlighted that. But how far can that go?
Yeah.
Can it go so far as to defeat Spain in a quarterfinal matchup of the Euros? Or is that where they get beat 3-0? That's my biggest question.
Exactly.
That's the same concern. It comes down to experience. It comes down to the quality of these players. How high of a peak can they reach? I'm going all the way to the top with them. I'm going all the way to the top, but I'm willing to die on that hill, bro. I'm willing to die on that hill with this Hungarian side. So is it fair to say that you have Hungary in second then?
I'm going to still say the hosts factor of Germany and also the world-class quality that they possess will outdo Hungary. Now, honestly, maybe Hungary even tied Germany, right? But I'd say overall, Germany will have a better group stage. But right now, I have Hungary right underneath Germany, right underneath
You got them at 2 then.
I got them at 2 for now, but let's go through the other teams just to make sure.
Okay. Let's go through. Next up, we have Switzerland and Scotland. You want to get Swiss with it, or you want to go Scotland?
Let's go Switzerland.
You want me angry then?
Yeah, let's get angry. Yeah. I'm
going to get angry, bro. This Swiss team pisses me the fuck off, and I mean that respectfully. For any Swiss people out there. This team pisses me off, bro. The only analogy I can think of is when you go to the club and you see a girl and you can only see her back, but she's got a beautiful figure. She's a work of art, and you're like, oh my God, she's a beauty. And then she turns around and she's got the face of Shaggy Martinez. That's exactly what this Swiss team is, bro. Shaggy Martinez. Because if you were to tell me that I could have a center back pairing of Manuel Akanji and Fabian Schär, bro, I'd be ecstatic, man. I'd be so happy. And then if you were to tell me, well, wait, I can give you a midfield of Freuler, Dennis Zakaria, and Granit Xhaka, all 3 players who played a pivotal role in carrying their team's midfield to Champions League spots this year, I'd be losing my mind, man. And then you can throw in Shaqiri in there if you want as well as an offensive midfielder. If you like, experienced Shaqiri, a player that we love so much that has been a legend of the Swiss team, I'd be losing my mind, man. I'd be so excited.
No, for sure.
I get angry when I look up top. I get real angry when I look up top, man, because for a long time I thought the next man up for Switzerland, and he might still be that, is Embolo. And unfortunately, injuries have cursed him.
Yeah, he hasn't played this season.
He played 5 games this season. That was just in the past month for AS Monaco. but he was gone the entire year. Injuries got him. And he was going to be the next guy, honestly. When you look at the Switzerland offensive line, he really did look like one of the best talents. And he still has time, but I'm speaking negatively because the time has arrived, bro. The Euros are here, and I want them to succeed now with the talent that they have behind them. But then you got guys like Stefan, like Vargas, Okafor, Amdouni, looking at the rest of the teams that they're competing against, looking at the other offensive lineups and looking at the lack of chemistry that they have in comparison, I don't think they have enough to compete offensively against the top teams in Europe, especially in this group that's already pretty tough, bro. So for that reason, I get pissed off because I think Switzerland is that close, bro. That close. Man. A couple really good offensive players away from being an elite team in Europe this year. And that pisses me off, man.
I get confused when I look at this Switzerland team because it's basically the reasons that you just labeled out. There's so much quality in this side, but there's definite holes in this side as well. I just get confused, though, because 3 years ago at the Euros, they go to the quarterfinals, and they almost make it to the semis. If you look at that 11 that pulled that off, it's pretty close. Yeah. It's almost the exact same that it is today. So that means we know this crop of players is capable of making a very deep run in this tournament. They also, they beat the reigning world champs at the time in France. Result, man. And it was, they did it in style too. They worked hard for it. You cut to the World Cup that happened a year and a half ago, and dude, they look disinterested. They look like the exact opposite of the team that featured in the Euros a year and a half prior to the World Cup because they couldn't handle Brazil, they could barely handle Serbia, and they got spanked against Portugal, man. It was an embarrassing appearance for Switzerland at the World Cup, and it was the exact same players. So that's why I bring this confusion aspect to the Swiss analysis because I don't know what to expect, man. You already mentioned the true, genuine, world-class quality that is on this pitch for Switzerland, but does it really mean anything? Honestly, I don't know. They had a good qualification to get in here, but I'll be honest, it wasn't anything impressive, especially when you look at the teams that they ended up playing against. So it's just like, all right, has anything really changed for the Switzerland side? I'm actually going to say no. I'm with you. I'm pissed because this team really should be better than what they produce out on the pitch. I think I'm just more frustrated in the sense that they can produce. It's just more often than not, they don't.
And that's why my next question then is, how much blame does Murat Yakin have for this? Because I've seen a lot, bro, from the Swiss folks that I follow, the forums and YouTube comments and Reddit threads. They don't seem to like him. And I wonder how much of a blame he has to, and I wonder how much of a role he plays in being a big reason for why the Swiss team is just so up and down. I mean, that's pretty crazy, bro. From a managerial perspective, to manage a team like that, I do think some blame has to go to him.
Yeah, I definitely think you could take some of the blame. They don't really play quickly or adventurous, progressive offensive football. There's really an emphasis on just being very balanced, and I think it ultimately ends up being a pretty boring product for Switzerland. And I would be frustrated if I was Swiss too, because there are actually good players, right? Ruben Vargas actually is having probably his best season at club level. And when you watch Switzerland play, every time Granit Xhaka or Remo Freuler get the ball in midfield, he's the first guy they look to. And he's in his prime. He's getting better on one-on-one situations. I actually expect Ruben Vargas to have a really good tournament here. He can go off. He's not much of a scorer, though, and that's the problem for Switzerland. Because when you look at the front line, there is talent, but goals? Not really, man. Because like Noah Okafor, for example, he's been the replacement for Brelin Mbolo. He's been good at AC Milan, but he's not... He hasn't scored that much, right? I think he had 11, 12 goals, something like that, which is good. But, you'd hope that you'd have a guy who's scoring 20 goals or something like that. That'd be really nice. And then if you look at the right wing, it could be Amdouni. He had a breakout season 2 years ago in the Conference League for FC Basel, then got the move this year to Burnley. He's good. He's a hell of a runner, and if you give him an open opportunity in the box, he probably will finish it. But I think the problem with Amdouni is he was at Burnley, right? He didn't get that much opportunities. Yeah. And then Dan Ndoye actually is another player I want to highlight because he's a really good dribble penetrator, and he had a really excellent season in Italy with Bologna. The problem is he's just not much of a goal scorer either. So there is so much talent on the Swiss side, but they just don't create enough, in my opinion. And individually, there's just not a lot of goals.
Did Mbolo get the official call up? Did he get called up?
He did. He got called up. That's where I get
curious because you look at Real Madrid playing Courtois in a final after missing an entire year. Yeah. How much? I mean, but the thing is, that's a goalkeeper. That's a goalkeeping position. It's a little easier to do that, I believe.
Yeah.
Can you put your trust in a guy who's only played 5 games so far, but is ultimately one of your best focal points offensively? I think they're just gonna have to. They're gonna have to take a gamble and do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, if I'm play him, if I'm Yakin, I start Okafor in that first game, see how he plays, and I bring in Mbolo on the 65th, 70th minute. If he looks good, I'm starting Mbolo in the second game. I'm gonna gauge it in that first match.
I think so. I think that's what you got to do because the offense, to me, like as I mentioned, is the weakest part and the part that I'm most questionable about. And it's for that reason that the best I can see for Switzerland, bro, the best I can see is 3rd place in this group with qualification into the round of 16. That's the best I can see for them.
Honestly, I'll match you there. This Swiss team won't be easy to play against for Germany or Hungary, but I just don't see this Swiss team besting these 2 really good opponents. So, yeah, the high side of Switzerland, too, is actually 3rd place.
Yeah, and
which means
there's a really interesting discussion now to be had about Scotland. Scotland has made it to this tournament, bro, and that's very exciting because the Scottish are here, coached by Steve Clarke and ranked number 39 in FIFA's rankings. The story of Scotland is a fun one. It's a fun one. At one point, beating Spain 2-0, qualifying in second place for the Euros over teams like Norway, for example, and having a year-long peak, I would say, where they really did seem to be on the rise. And that was really exciting to see. But what the hell happened on September 12th, 2023, bro? Because from that day on, they have not won a single game in 7 straight matches. What happened, bro? I don't know. Because that magic, that excitement seemed to somehow drastically and immediately fade away. And that concerns me because the players they got are actually pretty solid. The Scottish midfield is definitely the strongest point. You got McGinn, McTominay, McGregor, or Billy Gilmore. On the left side of the pitch, you have Andy Robertson or Kieran Tierney, which I think is really, really solid. But I just get worried, man. I get worried that for Scotland, that they've already peaked and their best moment has already passed. And they've arrived at this tournament now with high spirits, obviously. But they might end up getting bested by 3 teams that I do see as better than them. That's my worry.
Yeah. When you look at the Scottish squad, you actually will find genuine talent. You genuinely will. Don't get me wrong about that. But their weakest links are too weak. And when you're playing against an offense like Germany, Hungary, hell, on low-key even Switzerland, you're going to leak goals, and then at that point, you're asking the Scottish offense to now score 2 goals a game, and that's where they falter. There's 2 major holes for me on the Scottish team. First, defensively. Ryan Porteous, Jack Hendry, Kieran Tierney are good players, and they've had really good moments throughout this European qualification, but in every single game, they make a mistake. Somebody on that Scottish back line completely opens up and the opponent has free reign to get inside Scotland's box every single time. The game against Spain and more recently against the Netherlands, Scotland were able to compete against these opponents, but dude, like that game against Spain could have scored 6 goals. The game against the Netherlands, even though Scotland were able to get a draw, Netherlands should have had 4 or 5. They opened up Scotland 3 or 4 times per half. And when you're really banking on a defense in the highest pressure situations of a Euro, there's just no way. There's no way magically this back line of Scotland is just going to figure it out and all of a sudden get real tight with each other. It's just not going to happen. And then going forward,
that's also the thing, man.
No, they don't have a number 9, bro. The Scotland team, Lyndon Dykes just got injured in training, and he was going to be their starting striker. Lyndon Dykes. Right?
I know. Well, I will say, I think they've been making a mistake starting him for so many matches, bro, because why does he get so many starts, at least in the past year, over a guy like Shea Adams?
Yeah.
I actually am curious to hear from Scotland fanatics because I've been looking at the lineup. Lyndon Dykes at QPR had like 6 goals this year in the championship, and they finished like in 18th place.
Yeah.
Whereas Shea Adams had 18 goals, 7 assists, I believe, for Southampton, who just got promoted into the Premier League. Why isn't he the outright starting 9?
I think it's just because when Adams has played for Scotland, he doesn't perform ultimately like he does at club level. And when I saw those games for Scotland against Spain and the Netherlands, Lyndon Dykes has a really good work rate. He runs non-stop, and every single long ball that's thrown to him, he'll put an elbow in the defender's face. And I think that's the type of fight that maybe the manager's looking for. But yeah, from a finishing perspective, Dykes definitely isn't it. He's injured, so I guess this is going to be Adams. It is time to shine now.
I want to see.
What is really good, though, about Scotland, we talked about the bad. Now let's talk about the good, because there is good here. John McGinn and Ryan Christie are coming off of their best individual seasons of their careers. I think that's massive. And when you look at the way Scotland play, they try to have a kind of like a high pressure, high active midfield to win the ball early. And then when they do get it, when McTominay or Billy Gilmore get it, they immediately go wide to either Christie or McGinn. And those guys are willing runners at club level.
That's true.
They really are. And they provide the perfect outlet for Scotland going forward. The problem is once it's out wide, they have nobody to go to, right? And that's where the Scottish offense ultimately fails. But I think it will be good for a goal or two throughout these 3 group stage games in the Euros. I just don't think it'll be enough to get a solid 3rd place, or hell, not even a 2nd place finish.
Yeah, this team reminds me a lot of, it gives me Australia vibes, where they have a really strong point in the midfield, championship level defenders at back, and then basically a non-existent offense. And just like Australia, where we saw Jackson Arvive basically carry the offensive load from the midfield, I think we're going to see that from Scotland with Scott McTominay,
Yes.
John McGinn, Christie, like doing all the work offensively from the midfield. And they might get some goals in this tournament because of that, but I just don't see that being a sustainable system to have in these Euros. The thing is, I don't think the Scots are asking for much here, honestly. I think they're happy to be here. And I think if they somehow find a way to get a 3rd place finish, or maybe even 2nd, they're going to lose their minds in Glasgow, bro. I think they're going to go crazy, because that's one thing I will note. The Scotland folk, they have some great atmospheres in their games. And obviously this game will be far away from home, but still their fans are very passionate. And I will give them that, because I think that passion definitely played a role in them getting really notable results these past couple of years. So I do think they'll be really happy with whatever happens, and they're ultimately very positive about the fact that they're even here at this tournament. I do think there's a limitation on what they'll be able to do this year.
True. Scotland have never gotten past the group stage. So you're right. Even a measly 3rd place finish, if it's enough, Glasgow will go crazy. The entire country of Scotland will go mad if Scotland find themselves in a round of 16 match at this Euros. It gets even worse, though, for Scotland, and it's all unfortunate because Lewis Ferguson had a really stellar season in Italy this year, and he's injured. He's not going to be able to make it at this year's Euros. That would have really helped out, I think, McTominay. Because now all the pressure is going to be on either Billy Gilmore or maybe Callum McGregor to be that kind of passing midfielder. I don't know if they ultimately have it at this level. And then the right wing back position, completely depleted, bro. Aaron Hickey, out. Nathan Patterson had a great year for Everton, out. So they have to start their 3rd choice right wing back. I believe it's Ralston, who plays in Scotland. He's a good player, but it's a definite downgrade when you look at the other options that they have. And if Scotland's all about that width when they get the ball to go forward, that's going to be a big missing piece. So just the more you look at this Scottish squad, it's really hard for you to believe that they can get out of this group.
Put Shea Adams at right wing, Scott McTominay in that 9 position.
Low key, man.
Put him in that 9 position.
You got to get real creative,
But
man.
let's get creative with it, man. Let's see what Steve Clark can do. Hopefully he can hype these boys up and motivate them. But I ultimately do see a 4th place finish for Scotland, which means that for me, to round out this group, I have Hungary in 1st, Germany in 2nd, Switzerland in 3rd, Scotland 4th. Where are you at?
I'm going Germany 1st, Hungary in 2nd, Switzerland in 3rd, and Scotland in 4th. But I will say, I think if Scotland can get 3 points, it will be against Switzerland. And if they can manage that, then I could see a Switzerland-Scotland swap at the bottom.
You having fun so far?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started. Group B has Italy, Spain, Croatia, and Albania. To decide which team we talk about first, let me pose a question.
Okay.
Of these 4 teams, which team's performance in this Euros do you think will be the most unpredictable?
Oh, okay. Unpredictable?
Or toughest to kind of gauge how they're going to come out swinging in this tournament.
I'm inclined to say either Croatia or Italy.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Italy's a weird one because they're the reigning champs. You'd hope a lot higher if they had that title.
Fucking football, man. That's so nuts to me, man.
Yeah.
Italy's an interesting one, man. They're so interesting to me. And actually, I'm looking for help from you. And I'm actually looking for help from the fans in the comments because I'm debating about where I should put Italy in this group. It's one of the few teams where I actually couldn't select a spot, a position for them in the group because I need to see what the discourse and what the rest of the people say because my research left me confused, man. Left me confused. Coached by Luciano Spalletti, ranked number 9 in FIFA's rankings. And the defending champions, that's the narrative. Defending champions of the Euros defeating England in penalties with names like Donnarumma, Bastoni, Scalvini, Barella, Jorginho, Di Marco, Scamacca, Federico Chiesa. Really, really good players on this team and a lot of squad depth. I get so curious, bro. What version of Italy are we going to see?
I have the exact same qualms about Italy, man. I really do. And I'd be surprised if most people didn't. Truly. Because you look at Italy the past even 12 years, 10 years. Dude, they haven't been to a World Cup since 2014. It's been a decade since Italy have been to a World Cup. I was saying Mexico and Germany have been bad. Italy's been way, way worse. And then they won the last Euros. There's no explaining it. There's not a mastermind formula that some genius crafted last Euros and was like, oh, Italy's going to win. There's not a single person who predicted that they could do it. But then once we saw Italy get going in the Euros 3 years ago, oh my God, it made sense. They looked unstoppable. They found such good form. And of course, when you looked at the squad, it did make sense. I mean, you already listed some of the players that won 3 years ago. They are here now in Germany. There's some serious talent that Italy have. The problem is that even recently in their Euro qualification, they've been hot and cold, man. Yeah. They had a weird qualification where, yes, they looked good at times, but they couldn't beat England twice. They had 2 chances to beat them. They couldn't do it. And I think that's where Italy is right now. They can beat the teams that are lesser than them. And sometimes, honestly, they even underwhelm against those teams. But when they play against the bigger teams, I don't know if this specific Italy team really has it in them. But the thing is I said that 3 years ago. I said the same thing 3 years ago. I will say, though, there's some holes in this Italy side specifically that make me think that there's just no way they make a deep run like they did 3 years ago.
Where do you think that is? Because when I think about the offense, I think about Scamacca finishing the season off really strong for Atalanta, and then a guy like Chiesa playing really well for Juventus. Midfield looks pretty good to me with Barella, Di Marco, and these Inter Milan guys, honestly. And the backline has Bastoni, Scalvini. Where do you think the weakness is then?
It's in that third midfield position. So obviously the good is Niccolò Barella and Jorginho. And I actually want to highlight Barella really quickly because my goodness, dude, he has had 3 immaculate seasons at Inter Milan, one of the best box-to-box mids in the world. And what's crazy is I thought he was good like a year, 2 years ago. I think he was even better this year, truly. He's gotten better at passing. His decision-making is elite now, and he still has that dog in him. He still has that physical grit, box-to-box. He's one of the most complete midfielders, I think, at this tournament.
I think he's the next great Italian midfielder?
Yeah, truly. And I think he's honestly in the midst of doing that already. He's 26 years of age. He's in his prime, or maybe 27, but still, what he does on the pitch speaks for itself. And then Jorginho needs no introduction. We've seen how good he has been and how instrumental he's been at Arsenal. 3 years ago, they had Verratti. And I think what he brought to the pitch for Italy was pure fluidity and honestly just the know-how to outdo any midfield pressure.
What a player, bro.
What a player.
Yeah.
And
look, I forgot about him. Damn.
Well, he's been gone.
Man.
He fell off the face of the earth. Man.
Yeah,
he's gone
completely.
He's completely gone, and there is not a single guy who can replace what Verratti brought to the table.
That's fair.
And I think that's a massive miss in midfield. I think what Spalletti's probably going to do is he could play Pellegrini, who plays at Roma, and he had a good season this year. You could play Davide Fratesi, who's also good at Inter Milan this year too. Those players can work, but they're just not even close to what Verratti was. They're just not even close. And I think that's a big miss. So there's one area. I think the second area is actually in the center back position, not because of the quality, but because when you look at what once was there. 3 years ago, bro, Chiellini and Bonucci.
Oh, yeah. And then, bro, 10 years before that, Maldini.
Exactly.
So, like, we got legends at the back.
Exactly.
For sure, the weakest, I don't know, aura that you've seen in an Italian backline in a really long time. I agree with that, but they're still really good.
They are really good, but I truly think that aura, that know-how, that experience that both Chiellini and Bonucci, legends of the game, brought 3 years ago is low-key why they're able to stay in those very tight matches, and then Chiesa goes off and gets a crazy goal. I think that's why Italy were successful ultimately, because Chiellini was doing Chiellini things.
That's true. No, you're right.
And again, the skill at the back is very good for Italy right now, but I mean, these guys aren't made. They're not established like Chiellini and Bonucci were. And I do think that actually is a downgrade. Now, in 4 years' time, or hell, even 2 years at the World Cup, Italy might have another really, really good back line, and there might be legends in the making. But right now, that doesn't exist.
No, that's fair. That's really fair. I was reading a comment online about, from an Italian point of view, as an Italian saying how he approaches Italy games now. He says that him and a lot of Italian fans live on a game-to-game basis. No expectations anymore for Italy, bro. Because it makes sense. At one point, you're losing to North Macedonia and not making it to the fucking World Cup. And the next, you're lifting the fucking Euros against one of the best England generations we've ever seen, man. And then you just compare this team and the names to what they had in the 90s and the 2000s. Like, it's just so drastic that you can't have expectations with this Italian team. And that's why I'm just left so confused, because I'm like, where do I put them then? What team are we going to see? Because you mentioned these defenders as being the weakest point. It is kind of make or break for them this tournament to see where they stand in the upper echelon of defenders in Europe. Can they be a top 3 defense in Europe right off the bat and establish themselves as that for the next 10 years? Or will it be clear that they still have a lot of work to do? We'll find out, bro. And that's kind of my ultimate take with this team is I'm just going to have to wait and see. So, folks, in the comments, let me know, what do you think about this Italian team and how they're going to perform? Because anything you have to give me, I will take like a sponge and receive it, because I'm so curious to see how they perform. If I have to pick a spot for them, bro, I think I'm going to go third. Man.
Dude, yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it too, but I think I am going to go third as well, just because there's just so much unknown. But the thing is, I won't be surprised if they get second.
I won't be surprised if they top the group.
Yeah, that too. I won't be surprised if they end up showing out here at this tournament, because as you already said, they have quality, man. I mean, Chiesa just went off at the Coppa Italia final, and when he's healthy, Chiesa is one of the best forward-winger hybrids in the game. Yeah. So Italy still have insane talent. I just wonder if they're going to show up. That's it.
Wow, that's actually crazy then, that we both have them third then. It's pretty nuts.
But I think that also shows that this group, I think, is deceptively tricky, man.
Yeah.
You look at the rest of the teams, and honestly, I don't think it's an easy way out to the top of this group, no matter who you are.
I think that's why they called it the group of death. Right after the draw, they named this as the group of death with Albania, Spain, Croatia, and Italy. Man, okay, then let me ask the biggest question here then. Who gets second?
Oh, okay. I'm going to go Croatia here, actually. And I think this might be a little surprising to a lot of people, because a lot of the sentiment that I see online, on YouTube comments or on Reddit threads, is that this Croatia team is past it, right? This Croatia team is too old now.
I said it at one point, bro.
Yeah, I think I said it too. But if you really analyze what this Croatia team is all about now, honestly, Dalic has done a pretty decent job at integrating the new generation of Croatians. He really has. Of course, you still have the veterans and Luka Modric, Marcelo Brozovic, Kovacic will still be here as well.
Perisic.
Ivan Perisic, who's really old now, but he's still working hard, plying his trade in Croatia. So there's still a lot of familiar names. But then there's new guys. There's new guys like Luka Sucic, Luka Ivanušić, who had a really good season in the Eredivisie. Lovro Majer has been trying to get into the starting 11 for the last 3-4 years. Now might be his
He's
time.
finally not going to come off the bench, bro.
Exactly.
All I've seen from him is coming off the bench, dude. That's nice. I hope he gets a start.
I hope he gets the start. And I do think it is time for him. He's been really good at Wolfsburg. Again, statistically, not a lot of these Croatians have a lot to boast about. I understand that. But the way that they play, there's a really good emphasis on just fluid football still, even with these new Croatian players. And the thing is, Croatia ultimately have punched above their weight the last 2 World Cups.
It's their identity, man.
What they've achieved hasn't really been what they were supposed to. They did the impossible by going to the World Cup final in 2018. They truly did the impossible by going to the World Cup semis in 2022. So I think when you look at the team that Croatia have now, yes, it may not be as good as what they once were over these last 4 years, but honestly, it might be just as good. It's just going to look a little bit different. Of course, you don't have Ivan Rakitic. You don't have Mario Mandzukic, legends of the game. But the new guys that are coming in, I think, play at a very high level, and they're Croatian, bro. Mm-hmm. They've established themselves over the last 6 years as being a nation that produces top quality footballers. Look at Joško Gvardiol, right, who popped off at the last World Cup. He's still here. He's still a major part of this Croatian squad. I think these youngsters in Croatia have a lot to say for themselves, and they still play decent football. I have Croatia being a decent, hard to beat side at this year's Euros.
This Croatia has gotten too old narrative, bro. I don't buy it. I'm right there with you. I think this Croatian team is almost like, I don't know, like the San Antonio Spurs at their peak. And like Luka Modric is Tim Duncan, and they just got such a good system in place where they churn out talent with players that believe in the identity of the team and they embody it. Because I think this team isn't so much about the individual as it is about the 11 players on the pitch. I think one of the best examples of like the identity of Croatia is the fact that when you think about the type of player needed to score against Brazil in a quarterfinal of the World Cup when you're down 1-0 in extra time, you think you need a guy like Harry Kane or like Kylian Mbappe or Leo Messi to step up in those type of moments. But it was Bruno Petkovic, bro. Yeah. Bruno Petkovic, who was the guy who brought on this Brazilian tragedy in that situation, bro. And I think that represents the Croatian identity so well because it's a bunch of players like that. They might not be stars. They might not be superstars. And they might not be in the perfect age, in their prime age, but they just know how to play football very, very well. I love how they teach it there in Croatia. And I saw a stat that says Croatia has won a medal in every tournament they've played in except the Euros. Yeah. And I think that's crazy, man. Nations League, World Cup, they've done it twice. I think they want to do it now for the Euros, bro. I think they want to do it now for the Euros. Playing in Germany is basically like playing in a second home for Croatians as well. And the biggest thing that I love about the Croatian national team that I've seen from them in the past 10 years is that they, more than anybody else, has proven that they know how to adapt to a match. And it's why so many of their games have notably and famously gone into extra time because they know how to read their opponent and immediately adapt to it, make subs, make tactical changes to then play up to that level if needed, which is why you can see them play up to the level of a Brazil or also just play down to the level of a weaker team. They can play in any sort of match and hold their own, and I love that. They put 4 goals up against the Netherlands just a year ago in the Nations League semifinal, and then they went all the way to extra time against Spain in a 0-0 match that required more defensive stoutness, and they were able to show that, pushing it all the way to penalties and then losing in what is ultimately a lottery. So I think for all those reasons, bro, I trust this Croatian side more than I trust the Italian team. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm going second for them.
Yeah, I agree. And just to finish, they just also still have so many options going forward. It may not be the best individually when you compare it to, England, France, Portugal, but it's enough to be cutting edge. It's enough to always keep the opposition guessing on how you're going to attack, because you could start Kramaric, Ante Budimir. They've both had really good seasons this year, both in Germany and in Spain. But then, if Lovro Mayo's not working, or if Ivan Ušic's not working, you can bring on Marko Pjaka, very direct dribble driver, or you could bring on Mario Pasalic, who just went to the Europa League final with Atalanta and who's been playing really good football for the last 5 years. So there's just so many different types of players that Croatia possess, and they all work really well together, like you said, under the systematic approach that they always bring to every single tournament.
Livakovic loves playing in major tournaments and showing out like he did at the 22 World Cup. I think my biggest question for Croatia is, yes, we both have them getting out in second place. What's the ceiling, though? Are they contenders? Are they contenders to lift the trophy, or do you see more like a quarterfinal and semifinal type appearance for them?
Dude, I mean, even in 2018 when they had that really good squad, I always considered Croatia nothing more than dark horses, And the same thing in 2022. I was like, Croatia are good. No way they get to a final, and they shocked me when they went to the semis, man. Yeah. Like, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fool me twice. Shame on me. I'm going to fool myself again, bro. Yeah, bro. I'm going to do it again because I can't say that Croatia are title contenders. I can't do it. Especially that Modric is basically in a fucking wheelchair now, man. We got to take that into account.
Oh, man.
But I just want to say that they're not as bad as a lot of people are putting them out to be, because the young talent is very good. They're just a little bit raw. Yeah. And I think that this is their opportunity to be like, all right, let's gauge ourselves. How good are we? I think Croatia could go to the quarters, though. I think they're that good. Now, obviously, it'll depend on what type of draw they get. I think if they get a really tough draw in the round of 16, then I'll probably say they cap it there. But I'll say quarters, but I don't want to be too high on this Croatian side.
Yeah, for sure. Well, folks, let us know what you think about this Croatian team, because I think this is a really, really interesting team to take note of going into this tournament. So then by us picking Croatia second, Italy third, we're predicting the Spanish demise?
Yeah, Albania at the top of the group, bro.
Albania's top in this group, bro. They got to, man.
This is the best Albanian team ever.
In their history.
In their history, man. And contextually, not a long history of success. Let's make that clear.
Be honest.
Their first appearance in a major tournament was just in 2016 in the UEFA Euro 2016. And I actually remember that how important it was, or how massive of a moment it was, that Albania qualified for a major tournament. It was their debut. And honestly, when you look at how they approached that tournament, it was very defensive, yes. But dude, I mean, they almost got a result against France. They conceded late into the match, and they actually got a win. They beat Romania and got 3 points to finish in third place in their debut. It was a really magical moment for Albania in their debut to actually garner 3 points at a major tournament. So I think Albania kind of rode that way for a long time after having not made any major tournament since then, but they're back. This Albanian team is back, and under Brazilian manager Silvinho, I actually think this team is a lot better than in 2016. And if they're able to get 3 points then maybe there's actual genuine hope for this version of Albania, because I think they're a lot more progressive. They're a lot more courageous when they go forward. And when you look at the squad, there's actual talent here that I truly don't think that they had 8 years ago.
You got the pivot of Ramadani and Aslani as one of the biggest focal points for this team. They got players at Brentford, Frankfurt, Atalanta, Lazio, Sassuolo, Inter, Fulham, Chelsea, I believe. I think the biggest thing for this Albanian team, based off how they play and how Silvinho has them set up, is the transitions. Transitions. They're very, very good at recovering the ball and then pushing it up forward and causing havoc, causing chaos. I think that's going to be their method this game, especially against teams like Spain that love to possess the ball. Italy, who will have to try to possess the ball against Albania, or even Croatia will try to outsmart them. They're going to have to play on the counter, and I think they can actually succeed with that approach because they played into that the entire Euro qualification, and it worked.
Yeah, it worked. And You already highlighted some of the players, but I want to re-highlight them because player like Bayrami for Sassuolo, he brings a bit of filth to this Albanian side. He gives them character, and it's a player that they haven't really had before in their past. A guy who has genuine handles and, can progress the ball forward very creatively. Ramadani's the perfect cover for a player like Bayrami, and then Aslani just had his breakout season at Inter Milan. He's an Italian champion. So there's true quality for Albania going forward. It'll be really interesting to see. My biggest concern with Albania is...
What's that?
They had a pretty easy group, bro. Qualification
There's a couple
group.
of teams that qualified into this tournament that had some easy groups, and that's what makes it hard to gauge. I'm with it.
It's a little tough to gauge, and they haven't really played any other teams outside of that Euro qualification side. So I don't know how this version of Albania plays against a Spain, plays against an Italy, plays against a Croatia. I have no idea, because they had the Czech Republic and Poland in their group.
Man.
Poland, mediocre as fuck.
Don't even talk about Poland to me, bro. I don't even want to hear about Poland.
And the Czech Republic, a solid team.
That's the toughest test.
But that's all I can say for Czech Republic. We'll get to them later, is that they're a solid team. So does that mean Albania is also just a solid team with maybe some special players in Aslani? I wonder. And that's why I'm excited about this year, is because it'll be another massive moment for Albania to show out for their country. I just hope that they can show out.
Do they get more than 0 points at this tournament?
Oh, God.
Do they get a point? Because unfortunately for them, it's incredible how drastic the Euro qualification group is and the Euros group is, bro. It could not be more drastic, man. This is the group of death.
Yeah.
Do they get a point here? Be honest. Be honest.
I think if they catch Italy off guard, they might be able to get a draw. Okay, so there's a potential for a point there. And if Croatia just don't show up offensively, which could happen, maybe they get a point there as well. They're not beating Spain. Winning is something that I don't know if Albania can do against these teams. And if what that means is I just don't see Albania getting out of this group.
Here's the positive part for any Albanians watching us, because I ultimately do agree with you. It's not about this tournament. It's not. I think they're building to 2026. I think that's where their timeline is going. You got drawn into a really tough group here. Have a good showing. Have something to be proud of. Maybe try not to get blown out. Be really positive. But you still got 2 more years to build to the World Cup and hopefully make it and show yourself out there. And that's where they can fully try to put on that pressure to deliver, because they seem to have the system in place to hopefully do something special at an expanded World Cup. So I would say that's the silver lining here. If they end up not getting any points, but if they do, then that's even better. That's bonus at this point. If they get a point against Italy, or maybe even, dare I say, get a victory at this tournament. And that leaves us with the last team in this group being Spain, coached by Luis de la Fuente, ranked at number 8. We both got Spain top in this group.
Got Spain top in this group, bro.
Okay. Spain with guys like Grimaldo, Dani Carvajal getting called up, Nacho, Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, Pedri, Morata, Nico Williams, Lamine Yamal, 16-year-old Lamine Yamal, Kubarsi as well. 2 Barca youngsters getting called into this team. The pros is that we know, out of all the teams in this group, I would say that we don't really know how Croatia's going to come out. We don't really know how Italy's going to come out. We don't know how Albania's going to look against elite teams. We know how Spain's playing, bro. They're possessing this ball for 75 minutes straight, passing merchants to the fullest, and they're going to try to outpossess the team and get a goal, just 1 goal, to get the victory and end up winning. The question is, how far can that play style take them? Because lately, we've been seeing it disappoint in major tournaments.
Yep, round of 16 exits in every single major tournament since that disastrous 2014, except in last time's Euros, where they actually went to the semifinals and nearly booked themselves into the UEFA Euro Final 2020. And I think that's kind of the story of Spain, is ever since that golden generation in 2014, for the next 6 years, they really worked on transitioning the golden generation out and bringing this new guard of Spanish footballers. And I think it peaked in Euro 2021. Because you already said the type of style that they play. Obviously, Spanish love to possess the ball. It's their bread and butter. But it got a little too much in that direction, but it went all the way to a semifinal appearance. And I think because of that, people had high hopes for them at the World Cup in 2022, but they took that exact same approach where you possess the ball for 90% of the time. You just probe. You go back and forth, right side, right side, and then you try to hope that Dani Olmo is the guy who has the edge to get past 3 or 4 defenders. But it peaked. Because it did not work at the World Cup, man, ultimately. Like, they had some good performances, but they really lacked that biting edge. Because you pass the ball 100 times, but if you're not going towards goal, does it really mean anything? And I think that meaning was completely lost at the Qatar World Cup. But I'm excited about the Spanish team, man. And it's because of the youngsters that have recently hit the scene. On one side, you have 21-year-old Nico Williams, who has been going off for Athletic Bilbao these last 2 seasons, and that's it, bro. He's just hit the scene since the World Cup. He is fresh, and he is dribble penetrating at every single opportunity he gets. And if you talk about dribble penetration, it gets even better with 16-year-old Barca starlet, Loki, maybe the next Messi. It's still to be seen.
You can say that.
Lamine Yamal on the other side. All of a sudden, Spain go from a possession type of midfield approach offensive style team to now you have 2 out-and-out wingers. Yeah. But you still have the class and quality in the midfield. And I think that's what makes this Spanish team a lot more deadly going into this tournament than the past 4 tournaments, because I think now they have true cutting edge on both the wings, centrally through Alvaro Morata, and then creatively when you have a midfield of Fabian Ruiz, Pedri, and Rodri.
Rodri. Wingers have definitely improved. Striker position. Let's talk. Morata, possibly Joselu. Has that improved, bro?
No,
I don't think it has.
It definitely hasn't.
But I will say, in the past, they haven't had this much excitement in the winger position to feed them and to create chances. So I think they're good enough to work with these exciting youngsters beside them. So I think that's a really positive factor. Part of me is wondering if that's where the limitation of this Spanish team is in the striker position, the finishing spot to finish those balls that Yamal and Williams will send in. Can Morata consistently be that? We ask this question every single time for Spain. Can he be that guy? Or even a guy like Joselu is even that much of an upgrade at an older age? Will those guys be the weakest link for Spain?
I'm hoping that due to the addition of these new wingers, that Morata has to do less on the ball. Meaning he just has to be sharp for the moments when he gets the ball in the box coming from the wings. If that is the case, then I actually trust Morata to take advantage of the opportunities that he eventually will get. But if Morata has to end up doing a lot of work with his back to goal and he has to come deep, then I think that's where Spain lose a lot in that central position. So I think what will remain to be seen is how effective really are Williams and Lamine Yamal going to be for Spain, because they're ultimately going to have to do a lot of work on that wing.
I'm so excited to see Lamine Yamal, man.
Me too,
I'm so excited. Like, he's such an X factor, I think, for Spain and world football, man. A winger with this much confidence and this much threat at his age is just it's not usual, bro. It's very, very rare, and they're going to give him the keys to that right wing position to just go off, bro. To just go off. We saw it this whole year with Barcelona. His rise has been incredible. I think he'll be one of the most exciting players to watch at this year's Euros. And so I definitely recommend people who don't know who Lamine Yamal is, perhaps, to definitely focus in on him when Spain plays, because he is such an exciting talent. And I think he's going to play a big role in carrying the Spain team forward and hopefully going deep into this tournament. But speaking of depth, bro, this team has so much depth, man. They really do, to the point where I was looking at their exclusions. They got some crazy names that they left out, bro. Pedro Porro, Lucas Vázquez, Marco Asensio. To me, the most notable one, Pau Torres. Not getting called up.
Yeah.
Isco, and then Sergio Ramos, who you could list as an exclusion, but obviously they're past him. But those are some interesting names here. Anybody there that you think should have been on this team?
Honestly, no. I think De La Fuente really likes the French connection of Lenormand and Laporte. Although Nacho has been really good in the Champions League for Madrid, I could actually see Nacho getting in. And when I look at those 3 center backs, I do think they're better than Pau Torres. So if you bring Pau, he'd be a 4th choice. He wouldn't get any playing time, bar disaster on the pitch through injury. So I'm cool with Torres not coming. And then when you look at a guy like Pedro Porro, he has to compete with Dani Carvajal, the best right back that has ever existed. So as long as Dani is healthy, Porro's not seeing the pitch.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense why you don't bring a guy like Pedro Porro.
Yeah, and then Marco Asensio, I think, just hasn't really shined that much at PSG or honestly since his peak at Real Madrid. So I heard almost might be too old. Isco was solid at Betis this year.
Yeah, he was solid. I guess you could have brought Isco, but if you're going to start Fabian Ruiz, Pedri, and Rodri for sure, then you'd probably rather use a guy like maybe Mikel Merino to come in. And because Isco's a defensive liability. So if you're wanting more well-rounded midfielders, there's probably other guys to go for.
Yeah. I think ultimately looking at the Spanish team, we mentioned the striker position as possibly a weak link, but I do think just with the play style that they have and what we've seen in the past 10 years, their weakness is in defensive transitions. Yeah. The moment they lose the ball, that's when you pounce on this team, and that's when you try to take advantage of the Spanish side and catch them off guard. I'm interested to see what teams will be doing that, how they actually do it, and how the defense holds up. But ultimately, man, I do have them in first in this group, and I got them making quarters minimum. I got them quarters.
I wanted to ask, do you have this team as title contenders? Do you have them as dark horse? Like, because when you look at the quality, man, I mean, there's some just insane quality. And I have to say my own word on this too. Lamine Yamal being 16 years of age and possibly having a huge impact, that's an energy that no other team has at this tournament, bro.
We met these 16-year-olds, bro. They fucking got so much energy nowadays, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, you're right. That's my question too, because I'm scared to say semifinal for Spain.
I'm scared to say too, but I mean, they might be able to pull it off.
If Spain reaches their max version, yeah, contenders.
Okay.
If they don't, though, I think quarterfinals max.
Yeah, I'd say
that's the most I can say.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this Spanish team. I'd say if they don't make it to the quarters, then it's a disappointment, truly, because they've shown that their quality is so much better than most teams, right? The only teams I see Spain struggling against is going to be the elite teams like a Germany, England, Portugal, France, right? But Spain have showed over the last year and a half without Williams and Yamal that they're pretty much better than most teams. If that's the case, they have to make it to the quarters. Yeah. So I'm saying quarters minimum. If they reach their full potential, then yeah, I'm going with you. This team is a title contending team.
In Group C, we have England paired up with Serbia, Slovenia, and Denmark battling it out in this group. We have to talk about England.
Have to.
Coached by Gareth Southgate and ranked number 4 in FIFA's rankings. I mean, the biggest question, the biggest narrative I see regarding England every single time I click on a video talking about this team is the narrative surrounding Gareth Southgate. And so I want to start there. Bro, is he really the problem? Let's figure this out.
I get sentimental and actually very empathetic when I look at this English squad under Gareth Southgate, because I think there's been an unrealistic amount of pressure on this English squad prior to this year. So when they made it in 2018 all the way to the semifinals, this was a new English squad. They had just disappointed in the Euro 2016 where they got outed by Iceland.
Jesus
Embarrassing. Christ. But the new generation that followed to try and fix that, dude, they went all the way to the semifinals playing really good football. Harry Kane, during that time, established himself as one of the best strikers in the world, and he has been that ever since then. And that was all under Gareth Southgate. He started what has become this juggernaut of a team. But people gave England so much shit for losing that semifinal.
Yeah, man.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's an insane amount of pressure. It's a little harsh. It's very critical in my opinion. And what I went on to realize is that's just how it is when it comes to England, man. And I think you have to take those criticisms with a large grain of salt, man, because every single tournament since then, it has been nothing but England should be doing so much better. This English squad can't hack it. You know, they choke in the biggest moments. But, dude, then after that 2018 World Cup appearance, they go to the Euro final and they lose on penalties, man.
Penalties.
I don't think you can ask any more from a squad that achieves something like that. And I understand there still are points of criticism. You can always criticize a team. I'm just saying, don't let it get out of hand. Don't let it get out of proportion, because realistically, the only thing that you could say in that final was Gareth Southgate made some interesting penalty decisions. But even then, it's a lottery at the end of the day. England played so well. They were courageous. They were valiant. And they were still so young at the time. You look at the team that they have now, obviously, there's so many more players that are in form, playing at the highest level. But they still get criticized because in the 2022 FIFA World Cup, they lose out to France in the quarters. And I understand that was probably very disappointing, but it's France, man. They were runners-up. They lost the penalties against Argentina in the final. France-England itself was a final, you know? And Kane missed a really big opportunity, but can you really blame Southgate for that? I don't think so. So ultimately, what I'm getting at is, I think Southgate should be criticized for some of the decisions he's made, but you can't criticize him as much as most people do.
I do think this is a tournament that makes or breaks Gareth Southgate. Yeah. This is the one. I see, if they don't get that Euro Championship this year, if they don't win the final, I think he's gone, bro. And that's with 2 years left until the World Cup. So despite all of that, I do think the pressure is very much there for Gareth Southgate. And I do think that I agree with your points, but I also agree that the pressure should be there. Because you look at the talent level of this team, you look at how close they've gotten, to not get there and lift silverware after a fourth major tournament under Gareth Southgate, I think that's when you have to cut the umbilical cord on this managerial job, especially considering the level of depth that he has at his disposal. It's remarkable, bro. One of the deepest teams I've ever seen on the international level. Like, we're talking about Kane, Saka, Foden, Bellingham, Declan Rice, Kobbie Mainoo, John Stones, Pickford, if you want to throw him in there as well, Kyle Walker, just a few names. And then looking at the exclusion list, it's incredible how many players got left out only because the starting 11 is so strong. Marcus Rashford isn't here. Ben Chilwell, Dominique Solanke isn't here. Jadon Sancho, UEFA Champions League finalist Jadon Sancho. Raheem Sterling, Reece James, my very own Harvey Elliott isn't here. Tomori, the center back from AC Milan, isn't here as well. It's insane how stacked this team is. It is time for Gareth Southgate to finally deliver, and I think they might be able to do it, bro. I'm going to keep it real simple, real plain for you right now. I think they might be able to do it. I think this is the year where England could get to the final and finally get over the hump and bring the English fans a major trophy that they have been thirsting for so long. And that's why I do have that expectation. When it comes to England, they have to make the final.
If you compare this English squad to the last three major tournament squads that they brought, this team is light years better. And that's scary because those teams went to finals. They went to semifinals. If this team on paper is miles ahead of the teams that got them those results, then England have the most pressure at this year's Euros. And I think they should. They have the best midfield on paper. They have the best offensive line on paper. And in my opinion, they are also the deepest squad. You already listed out every single player, all of the studs, ballers out on the pitch, bro. They have to perform. And I have them as my favorites to win this year's tournament. They are title contenders for sure, but I agree. They have to go to the final minimum. And then from there, obviously, finals just, they could lose on penalties again, and I'll be okay. But if they don't get to a final, I say disappointment. Southgate has to go.
It's the form, bro. The form of these players is actually what I think differentiates the level of the squad compared to others. Bundesliga. Kane is arguably was the best player this past year with over 35 goals. And the only guy you compare him to is Florian Wirtz, who played for the winning team, which I think I would happily take that argument. But Kane was one of the top players in Bundesliga. You look at the Premier League, Phil Foden, by far the best player this year. Over in La Liga, Jude Bellingham and Vinny Jr., make your pick. But for a good while, it was Jude Bellingham who was outplaying Vinny Jr. and the best Real Madrid player for, I'd say, all but 2 months, in my opinion. So 3 out of the top 5 leagues in Europe have been dominated by English players that all get to play together in one offensive line. I think that's crazy, man. That's crazy. I actually don't know if I've seen this in my lifetime, where so many players from one specific country are in such good form going into a major tournament. The front line of Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, Harry Kane, and Bellingham is going to be ridiculous, man.
It's crazy,
ridiculous.
dude. It's literally like a video game when you look at the front line that England could put out. And that's one formation that they could do. But Southgate could do a completely different four, and it would still be just as effective, honestly, because you could put Ollie Watkins, who had an insane year in front of goal, up top. You could put Cole Palmer on one side. You could put Eberechi Eze, who's absolutely balling for Crystal Palace, on the other side. And then beneath all that, you could put James Maddison, who had a stellar season at Tottenham this year. So it's ridiculous how deep this English squad is.
You see what they did today?
Yeah.
Against Bosnia and Herzegovina? Ollie Watkins up top, behind him Cole Palmer, Eze to the left, Jared Bowen to the right.
There you go.
And then behind him, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Conor Gallagher. These guys might not start, bro. Not a single one of these guys.
Not a single one of them,
That's
bro.
nuts. Who do you think is going to be you could say the defensive pivot behind these four offensive players that I mentioned? Because I do think the favorites will be Saka, Harry Kane, Bellingham, and Phil Foden. I think I'm predicting a Declan Rice, and surprisingly, bro, Kobbie Mainoo, I think, is going to get the start.
I wonder. Obviously, it will be Declan Rice. He's one of the best defensive midfielders in the modern game. But yes, dude, who is going to be his defensive partner? And it's going to be a massive decision. It has been Gallagher in the qualifiers. You know, not all the time, though. Maybe only like 50% of the time. Kobbie Mainoo, though, has had a really good 6 months. And he's like Gallagher in the sense that he's really good at decision making. He's actually pretty good off the pass from a midfield position. But he's also physical. He might be more physical than Gallagher. And Gallagher's a pretty feisty guy. I do just wonder who is Southgate going to pick. I honestly don't know. I'm going to go Gallagher just because he's a slightly more experienced. I think Kobbie obviously is still a teenager and he hasn't played at this level ever before. But I mean, you know, put him alongside Declan Rice and he showed he can do it at Manchester United. Mainoo would be a good option too.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculously stacked from midfield to offense, but it's time to play devil's advocate. If you're against this English squad, I think the one place you're looking to take advantage of is ultimately their defense.
Yeah.
Where I think the best player is John Stones and Kyle Walker, but then it gets interesting with who becomes that pairing center back for John Stones. Is it Harry Maguire, or has Southgate moved on from that, and is he interested in bringing on a guy like Branthwaite from Everton, I believe? Who is he going to go with as the pairing center back? And then I think there's a slight argument to be made, but I'm defensive of it as well. Jordan Pickford, when you look at the top 5 teams in the world, he's definitely the weakest goalkeeper out of those 5. But the thing is, when it comes to Pickford in major tournaments, I've always been impressed with him and I actually love having at the back a true Scouser, if you will. I love his energy and his attitude. I just would say that maybe his absolute peak, the best version of himself, doesn't compare to like the best version of Alisson, of Donnarumma, and of these top goalkeepers. That's all.
That's actually a great point, but you're right. I've never really seen Pickford underwhelm at a major tournament.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think you can really criticize it if Southgate starts him. But yeah, I think the center back situation is going to get really interesting for England. Stones has been kind of injured this year, right? He hasn't played as much football as you'd like him to. If he's healthy, then he should be completely fine.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's fully healthy, as in he doesn't even have a little knock. If that's the situation, then I could see Southgate still going with Maguire because he hasn't fully transitioned from him. And that's just kind of the weird part. Maguire obviously is just such a character for Manchester United, and it's been tough on him, especially given that Man United just had their worst season in like 20 years. So I could see Southgate not picking Maguire, but if he picks him, I mean, he's been picking him for 6 years now. So it's just like, why wouldn't he if he truly does trust him? Another position that's up for grabs, though, is that left back position because Luke Shaw's injured ultimately. So who is it really going to be? It could be Kieran Trippier, who has played inverted before. It could be Joe Gomez, who was super useful for Jurgen Klopp when they had so many injuries back in February. I could see Gomez easily going to that left back position and just, you know, doing what he does best, adapting and being defensive first and foremost. I wonder who's really going to take that left back position, though, under Southgate.
Yeah, Kwanzaa also plays at the center back position, too. He had a good season for Liverpool. I wonder if he gets paired up in that center back spot. Left back is interesting, but it's still a lot of quality to choose from, in my opinion. But that is the weakest sector. The defense, to me, is the weakest sector. But ultimately, man, I'm going finals for this team. I'm going finals for this team. And I want to know from the fans, from the people watching, where do you have this English team finishing this tournament at? Is it as champions? Is it as runners-up? Or are they going to disappoint? And then that's the question. What happens if they disappoint, like losing the quarters, bro? What happens?
They can't, man.
But what happens, bro?
This English team cannot fail. They cannot exit this tournament prior to the semis, man. They have to make it to the Final Four, and they have to win that semifinal, man. I don't care who they play, but my God, imagine if somehow they get like Germany in the quarters, or like France in the quarters, or Portugal, or like a really good Hungary side. Like, it'll definitely make for pure drama, but that's the Euros, man. There's so many good teams. It's up to the absolute best to make it to the final. I think England is that.
Who had more pressure going into a major tournament? England 2024 or Argentina 2022? Oh, dude, this is a lot. The way we're talking about this team, this is a lot.
Wow. That's actually a crazy question. I think you'd almost have to say England, only because all their players are pretty much from the Premier League, right? You have the Premier League player of the season in Phil Foden. Yeah. You have the La Liga player of the season in Jude Bellingham. They're all like, 21, 20 years old. You have the best striker in the world in Harry Kane. You have the best defensive midfielder, self-proclaimed, in Declan Rice. It's like there's just too much heavyweight talent. That's all the pressure in the world. Whereas maybe for Argentina, all the pressure was on Messi specifically.
You could say that. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
But obviously Argentina, they're one of the most pressurized teams in the world at all times. So it's close for sure. It's close,
man. It's close, because I look at this English team, the way people are talking about them. I'm scared for them to see what happens if they don't lift the title, bro.
Dude,
I'm scared,
dude. And and the thing is, maybe I understand a bit of the pessimism, because if you are English, you can't say that England are going to win. You can't, because then you're setting yourself up for just depression. You know what I mean? And you can't look at the squad sheet and be like, oh, we have Foden, we have Kane, we have Bellingham, we have Saka. You can't be like, all right, we're going to the finals. And if you don't, man, that's going to hurt right here. Yeah. That's going to hurt right where it hurts, bro, in the heart. So I can understand why British people are just like, yeah, England always bottle it at the end, or they always choke, because it's the easier emotion to go with. But all I'm saying is that I'm going the opposite direction, man. I'm putting that pressure on England. They have to go to the finals. They have to finally win it.
I think looking at this group and deciding what are the most interesting topics, I think obviously England leads that line. But then the second most interesting thing that fascinates me about this group is who ends up getting last place, because I don't think the gap is that big between Serbia and Slovenia. And low-key, you could throw in Denmark in there if we see the same Denmark that showed up at the World Cup, bro.
Could throw them in
think it's going to be a race for last place. And who's going to be the face of that? I'm trying to write. Who's going to be last place for you, bro?
I have Slovenia. I do. And it's simply because they don't really have much tournament experience. And honestly, doing my research on this team, I realized if you're not making major tournaments or getting close to it, I'm also not watching you, because I have watched very little of Slovenian football over these last 12, 14 years. And I'll be honest, I actually don't know much about the players themselves. This is only their second total Euros appearance since the year 2000. Yeah. And it's their first major tournament since the 2010 FIFA World Cup. So it's been a very long time since the people of Slovenia has something to celebrate from a major tournament perspective, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Coached by Matjas Gek, ranked at number 57, finished second in the Euros qualifying behind a team that is in this group in Denmark. Mm-hmm. So we actually have a place of reference to see how they performed against a team that they're going to play against in the Euros. They got guys like Jan Oblak, bro. Yeah. You say you haven't seen a lot of Slovenian players. You've been embracing that, man, for so many years at your favorite club.
And can I go off a little bit, do a little something on Jan Oblak, because I do actually have something to say here about this man. This Jan Oblak qualifying with Slovenia to the Euros, this reminds me of when Gareth Bale qualified for the Euros in 2016 with Wales. Because the whole narrative when Bale was really young was, is Wales going to be good enough, given that they're such a small country, to get a player like Bale on the international stage? And they finally did it in 2016. And when they did do it, my God, they did it in style, bro. But I think this is that for me. To see Jan Oblak qualify for a major tournament when, honestly, he probably wasn't supposed to, given Slovenia's quality, this is massive for me. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're any fan of the best goalkeepers in the world, you're happy that Jan Oblak is finally getting to participate at a major international tournament, bro. And whatever happens, I honestly don't care. They could lose every game 4-0. He could be the worst keeper here. I'm just glad that he's finally getting to play, because you know what, bro? He has had every summer off. He hasn't had to work a single summer his entire career. This is the first time where he ends the season with Atleti, and he's like, all right, now I get to represent my country.
Simeone is like, where the hell are you going, bro? He's got his backpack and shit. I got plans, coach.
I got to play, man. I got to play for Slovenia. And that's what I'm getting at here, is that this is massive. He's been one of the best keepers in the world. Now he gets to don that Slovenian jersey.
Yeah, gives me Keylor Navas with Costa Rica type vibes. Exactly. A legendary goalkeeper, seeing his team on the biggest stage. They got guys like Bijol, Brekalo, Stojanovic, Elsnik, Benjamin Sesko, and Luka Doncic, bro, on this fucking team. The Slovenian, man. Doncic. Fucking Doncic is on this fucking team, bro. They play team football. That's what I got for Slovenia. I'm looking at the results. It's actually not that jarring. It's not that negative, I would say, looking at their past results. There is something positive there, and I'm actually going to say that there's an argument to be said that they can play up to just about anybody's level for certain amounts of time. It's there. There's something to work with. There's something that's somewhat positive. And lately, we mentioned how they have Denmark in this group. They played against Denmark recently, and they drew 1-1 the first time, and then they lost them 2-1. So that says to me that they can at least keep games really close. And I think that's really important in the Euro specifically, where keeping a game really close, making it really tight, maybe they can get a couple points out of this group and see themselves get out of it in third place, or at least compete for that third place position. I'm a little bit higher on Slovenia than I think you are, bro.
Yeah, I'm not that high on them.
I'm seeing a little bit more positivity here in comparison to a team like Serbia. And if you're okay, I'm open to shifting over to the Serbian discussion now, given that it's a very soft topic for me, because at one point, bro, let's not forget, I had this team in the semifinals of the goddamn World Cup. So I got a little bit of a grudge against this team now after the shit I saw in that group stage performance at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. So let's talk Serbia, bro. Let's talk Serbia. You ultimately see the Serbian team as a more formidable side than Slovenia?
I say they're all on par. And I'll say the same thing about Denmark too. You already kind of alluded to it. Like, Slovenia could play Denmark, but is Denmark that good? You see what I'm saying? So Serbia, do I say that they're better than these teams? No, but are they the exact same in output? Probably. So honestly, this is going to be a crapshoot for who gets second place, in my opinion.
But it doesn't make you angry how they shouldn't be as good. They should be better, bro. Serbia should be better, man. They should be coming off of a third place finish at the 2022 FIFA World Cup, bro. When you look at the names.
And that vote has sailed for me. But that's why you're rightfully pissed, bro. Because this team is the exact same that played a year and a half ago. On the wide ends, you have Živković, you have Kostic. In the midfield, you have Sasha Lukic, you have Dusan Tadic. You still have Aleksandar Mitrovic leading the line.
Best player, in my opinion.
And then you have Sergej Milinković-Savić still providing that coverage defensively. This is the exact same squad. And here's the problem. They get the exact same results, bro. They play the exact same way. And what is that way? Well, sure, they can score a lot of goals against teams that are on par with them, but no matter who they play, they leak goals.
That defense.
It's wide open,
bro. Oh my God. They at one point conceded 3 to Cameroon in the World Cup. Let's not forget that. And then 3 to Switzerland as well. And just recently, they conceded 4 goals, 4 burgers to Russia.
Yeah.
Who's not even here, man.
Yeah.
Not even Jokic could save this team, is what I wrote down. Serbian. So we got Luka Doncic's team and Nikola Jokic's team in this group. Jokic can't save this goddamn team, bro. They got second place in Euros qualifying behind Hungary. But if you look at the group beyond Hungary, bro, they should have gotten through. It was Montenegro, Lithuania, and Bulgaria. I mean, come on, bro. If you don't make it out of that group, then there's something wrong with you. For Serbia, for me, it all comes down to their defense, and I just don't see improvements there with Pavlovic still leading the backline, I believe. It's just not enough, man. It's not enough.
It's not enough.
I think they're setting themselves up for failure here, and that's why I'm going to go Slovenia, because I think they're a better team than Serbia, who's a team of just individuals, in my opinion.
I'm hoping for Serbia that we see more of Dusan Vlahovic. Yeah. He's been working really hard at Juventus. I still think he could score a little bit more goals. His injury proneness maybe doesn't help in that regard, but when he's on it, man, Vlahovic is relentless. He loves the physicality aspect of the game, and when he does get an opportunity in front of goal, he looks to be deadly. I'm hoping we see more of him, but the coach goes with Mitrovic, and that makes sense. Mitrovic is a beast, but I just think, honestly, if Serbia just want to go full-on Serbia and go all-out offense, dude, play both Mitrovic and Vlahovic. Play a double front two up top, and then try and have the midfielders just constantly feed them. You just concede 3 goals, but maybe you score 4.
Yeah, shoot out. Just
shoot out.
That might be the best method. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
It might be the best method for this team. And thing is, deep in my heart, I still want to see Serbia succeed, man. I do. I mean, if they made like a quarterfinal run, I'd be like, there it is. I'd feel at least somewhat justified in what I thought the potential of this team was just 2 years ago. But if they end up disappointing again, then I'm all out on Serbia, bro. I'm all out on them. But ultimately, you have them in third or you have them in second?
Let me see here.
Yeah, think about this. You're gonna go as far to say Serbia gets second in this group? And if they get third, do you have them as one of the teams getting out?
God.
I know I'm being hard on you, bro. But I need to know regarding Serbia.
I just hate saying Serbia is second place in any sentence, man. In any content, Serbia shouldn't deserve second place. If this group was a little harder, they wouldn't get second. But it really just depends on if Slovenia and Denmark show up, man. Serbia could finish second. They could finish in fourth, man. I really do think that second, third, and fourth place is that wide open. I will give Serbia... God damn it. I'll give them third place. I'll go third.
Are they a top 4 out of 6 third place team, or do they end up in that 5 or 6 slot?
Shit, no, I can't give you that. I can't give you that.
I need to know if they go to the round of 16 or not.
They easily could, bro. They easily could, because if you look at other groups where they're a lot harder, that third place team might get screwed against the top 2. Whereas Serbia, really, they just have to worry about England, and then from there they can handle Denmark, they can handle Slovenia. I'm just saying, if I have to pick, I'm gonna go Serbia third place. But like I said, I will not be surprised if they get fourth or second.
Dude, it's great. Serbia's our most viewed video on YouTube, I think. It was at one point my analysis of them. And look at how I'm talking about them now, bro. I want to be Serbians. Accept
this
me
is
back.
on them, man.
This is on
Serbia.
I know, bro. I know. But I'm just saying, like, I want to be part of you. Please give me a reason to rejoin the Serbian army, man.
So are you saying?
I'm saying Slovenia third, Serbia fourth.
Okay.
Yeah, bro. I'm saying Serbia fourth. I'm sorry. Meaning that in second place, we both have Denmark. And my question is there a coach that's more hated on than Denmark's head coach right now in Kasper Hjulmand? Because the things I've read about him, bro, are visceral, bro. Man, Danish people hate him.
Really?
They hate him. They claim that he is the biggest problem for the team. He's been there 4 years now. Doesn't seem to get the most out of the players anymore, or doesn't employ the proper tactics. And some folks even went so far as to say that they're calling him Morten Olsen 2.0. And now I look up, who the hell is Morten Olsen? And he was the coach that came before him who coached Denmark for 15 straight years, bro. He was the main guy for them for so long, but ultimately ended in a really sour relationship. People are starting to reference him, Kasper Hjulmand, as the next version of Morten Olsen. It ain't good, bro. It ain't good. What I'm hearing in terms of discourse regarding the head coach, very negative. I would compare it to probably the same negativity I see for Gareth Southgate from the English people. And it really surprised me because they made it to the semifinals of the 2020-2021 Euros, bro. And right now they're ranked number 21 on FIFA's rankings, and they topped their Euros qualifying group, which had Slovenia, Finland, and Kazakhstan in it. So I was surprised to see when I was doing all my research that Denmark folks are actually really low on this team right now because of the form that they're in, but also because of the job that the coach has been doing.
I actually wrote something specifically for Denmark in my notes. Let me see here. Oh yeah. Fuck Denmark. That's all I have to say about this team, bro. Yeah, it's actually written down here. I wrote it down. I took the time to write it down because I actually agree with all the Danish people, man. This team is washed. They don't have the same vigor or excitement or energy that they once possessed. And I think that's why I hate this team, because they betrayed me. They let me down, bro. Just like you had high hopes for Serbia in the 2022 FIFA World Cup, I had the exact same high hopes for Denmark going into that tournament. But the thing is, so many other people did too. You just said they had an insane insane Euro campaign. And then going into that World Cup, bro, they were beating France. They were going up against Europe's best and actually dominating. The form that they were on was so ridiculously high that I couldn't ignore it. And most people couldn't either. And the performance that they gave at the World Cup was stupid, man. It's stupid, man. It made me want to just not even watch football anymore,
why don't we watch
bro.
football, bro?
I was like, if you're beating France 3 months prior to that and you're dominating France, who went to the World Cup final, and you lay an egg in Qatar against a pretty manageable group, honestly, then like, what am I doing?
What are we doing
like,
here,
my
bro?
goodness, man. And I can't forgive these Danish players. I really can't, because they possess so much skill. They had so much energy going into this tournament and into that FIFA World Cup tournament. And bro, they were shadows of themselves. Not even shadows of themselves. I don't even know who those players are anymore.
Yeah,
and when you look at their qualifying campaign for this Euros, yes, they beat Slovenia. So sure, they have that under their belt going into this group, but it wasn't convincing, man. It really wasn't. They're hot and cold. Throughout an entire 90 minutes, they might have a good 45 minutes, but the next 45 is boring. They don't move the ball quickly. But I think it's frustrating if you're Danish, because there is still really good talent in this squad,
amazing,
man. Yeah, you have Thomas Delaney in the midfield. You still have Christian Eriksen from a veteran perspective. Yusuf Poulsen is still playing top number 9 striking position football. And then at the back, man, I mean, you saw Joachim Andersen, Andreas Christensen. Like, these are top quality center backs. This team has in true, genuine quality, but the way that they play and the way that they've been playing for the last year and a half, it's not exciting. It's not good. Fuck this team.
Kasper Schmeichel as well, Simon Kjær, Norgard from Brentford, or Jensen.
Matthias Jensen.
Yeah, Matthias Jensen, Dolberg. Manchester United's very own Rasmus Højlund getting the opportunity here.
He'll have a big opportunity to make a name for himself, right? Because he had a good season at United, but United as a whole, since it was so down, a lot of players kind of went down with that. I think Højlund is one of those guys, but he has the makings of being a really good striker. This could be a really good opportunity for him.
I agree.
That'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. But also, upon doing research, I came to find what was frustrating the Danish folks so much about the selections from Højlund. And one of the biggest ones was excluding Matthew O'Reilly, who I have never seen play. I was like, who's Matthew O'Reilly? Everywhere I look, Matthew O'Reilly. I can't believe you didn't pick him. 19 goals, 18 assists for Celtic this season. Youngster. Claimed to be the heir to Christian Eriksen in the sense of being a very attack-minded forward, in the sense of being a very attack-minded midfielder, doesn't get the call-up whatsoever. And when you look at Denmark and the midfielders, they don't really have that many attack-minded midfielders with guys like Højbjerg, for example. And the offensive players, I don't think they have it in them to carry that weight with Jonas Wind, Lindström, Darami, Dolberg, Poulsen. They don't have to go off this tournament for any success to be had. And the fact that they're all pretty young as well outside of Poulsen, I would say, I don't know if it's enough to trust in them to be able to, compete against top teams like England, for example, who's in this group.
Yeah.
The thing is, it is pretty weak. The rest of the group is pretty weak. I think it's enough to get by Serbia and Slovenia, but that's it. That's it. I think getting out of this group is their biggest achievement. I can't believe I'm instilling faith in them getting out of the fucking group once again. But here we are. I think they get knocked down in the round of 16 pretty easily, and that's the end of the Danish story.
Dude, yes. I have nothing to add there. Denmark have enough to compete in this group, except against England. They're a solid squad at best, which is, it's good. That means they're at par with Europe's middle tier. They can punch above their weight sometimes, but they just haven't really shown to do that anymore. I think they've peaked, and if the manager's not trying to instill new talent into the squad, then I think you're just going to get a stale, same result that you've been getting this last year and a half. So, yeah, round of 16, no further than that for Denmark.
What's the biggest positive of Denmark? What is it?
I just think it's the talent that they have. Because, again, Andersen and Christensen are truly top quality center backs. Yes, Kasper Schmeichel, this will be his last Euros, by the way. He's getting up there in age. So this will be a really cool kind of send-off for him. I could see him trying to play his heart out in between the sticks. And then, of course, Christian Eriksen's the veteran for this team. He still plays good football. And honestly, I was never the biggest fan of Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, but what he did for Tottenham this year, pretty solid. He's very good on the defensive end of things. And I think he has become a better passer over these last couple of years in England. You have a good player in him as well. So that's the good thing about Denmark is the individual quality. I just think when you put it all together, it just doesn't really work right now.
And so to round out Group C, we both have England and Denmark in first and second. Where we differ is with Serbia and Slovenia. I have Slovenia in third, Serbia in fourth. You have Serbia in third, Slovenia in fourth. Let us know in the comments, guys, where you stand on this group. Group D consists of France, Austria, Poland, and the Netherlands, my friend. Four really interesting teams here to round it out. Why don't we start with France?
Yeah,
why don't we just start with France? Sure. A team that has gone to 3 international finals in the last 8 years, led by Didier Deschamps, who has been at this team now for 12 full years and has established himself as France's premier coach, ranked number 2 in the FIFA World Rankings after coming in second at the FIFA World Cup against Argentina. This team is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This team is ridiculous. I say it every time that we talk about French football. It is incredible, the level of talent and the level of depth that they have right now in this moment. You have names like Kylian Mbappé, Marcus Thuram, Kolo Muani, Antoine Griezmann, Olivier Giroud, Dembele, Tchouameni, Camavinga, Saliba, Konate, Theo Hernandez, Mike Maignan.
Keep going.
Just a few names. There's just a few names because I could keep going so far as to point out the exclusions that they had, which are even crazier with guys like Michael Olise not getting picked, and Nkunku not getting picked, Guendouzi, Disasi, Mateta from Crystal Palace, Moussa Diaby, man, not getting picked, Malo Gusto as well. The list just goes on for France, bro. And I even really touched on their bench, honestly. The list goes on. It truly is incredible what this team is capable of putting together when it comes to that starting 11. And it's going to be dope to see the one and only N'Golo Kante back as part of the squad.
Crazy that he got called up, but
what you mean crazy? You're not with it?
It's crazy, man, because he's just been gone for so long at club level, as far as actual impact, actual importance. But he's still a great player, and he's still playing good football in Saudi Arabia. So I actually do like that he got called up. Whether he makes a genuine playing time, I'm not so sure. But maybe we do see him. But I need to see France dramatically fail. Otherwise, they're title contenders, And the 3 out of 4 finals appearances in the last 4 major tournaments, that simple fact alone, I just can't go against that. France have been one of the best, the top international team for the last decade. And until they dramatically fail like Germany, like Spain once did, like Argentina, Brazil once did, I can't go against France. I can't. Their team is just too good. The base level of France, their starting 11, is better than 95% of all international teams. They don't even need to be in good form. They just need to show up for an international tournament, recognize the amount of talent that they have, and then they just pop off. That's what France does. It's what they've done for the last 10 to 12 years, and they're just in insanely good form. They did have a weird Euros last time out, but sandwiched in between that was 2 World Cup finals appearances, and one of them was actually winning the World Cup. So it's just like this France team is too damn good.
What happens? What happens if this time around they get kicked down the round 16 once again? What does that mean to you? 2 consecutive Euro round of 16 exits.
For me, it wouldn't mean much unless they have another bad tournament in the World Cup in 2026. I need to see consistent failure for me to be like, all right, this France team is actually on a genuine decline.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Looking at the team and the depth, it's just so elite that it leads me to this question that I love to know from the folks at home and then also from yourself. Because this team is so stacked, because it's so filled with so many great players, who would you list, who would you characterize as the most important player on this team? Is it as simple as picking the best player in Kylian Mbappé? Or is there a man behind the scenes that maybe should get a little bit more credit, like an Antoine Griezmann, for example, who shows up incredibly well for the French team at the international level?
Yeah, and this will most likely be Antoine Griezmann's last Euros. He might make the next one in 4 years' time, but he'll have a completely different role. He's still right at the end of his prime, so his skill level, his technique is still elite, and I think he can have a major impact at this tournament, but I got to go Mbappé, man. His appearances at the last 2 World Cups, they've just been too good, and he shows up every single time. And I mean, getting a hat trick, a historic hat trick in a World Cup final, only done one other time, that's something you just can't ignore. He shows up for when he wears this French jersey, and I think he's going to show up once again. He is France's most important player because let's say Griezmann's having a tough time in the midfield, like he did against Argentina. Let's not forget, Griezmann had a bad finals appearance in last time World Cup. It was Mbappe who ultimately said, all right, I'm going to take this shit into my own hands and get these goals for my country. And this is the skill set that Mbappe possesses. For me, he's definitively France's best player.
I think that's a great shot. It has to be. I think there's guys like Olivier Giroud who also put in really good performances at the international level, but I would also say this is probably going to be his last Euros as well, man, as he's leaning towards the end of his career. But Mbappe, bro, I think there really is just 3, max 5 players in the world that can change a game by their own volition in the way that Kylian Mbappe does. I think names like Lionel Messi, Neymar at his peak were guys that could do it. I think Mbappe is part of that conversation now with the performance he's put in. He's a historic player in these international tournaments, and I'm excited to see him pop off at this Euros once again, given that the last Euros was a disappointment for himself. Let's go full throttle here now that he's signed with Real Madrid as well. His confidence, his momentum, everything's just going to be looking really good for him going into this tournament. So I think he's going to be incredible. Looking at the midfield and defense for France, what would you say is the weakest point for this team if you're looking to play devil's advocate or looking to take advantage of a weak point in this squad?
I guess who's going to be the center back partner alongside William Saliba is...
That's it? That's it, bro? That's a luxury, man.
It's a hell of a luxury because if you look at right back, you have Jules Koundé, and he's been phenomenal in that position at FC Barcelona. He's one of the best defending right backs. Okay, you're good there. Left back, if you play Theo Hernandez, he's one of the most offensive fullbacks in the world. You're good there. Saliba, well, we know how good he's been with Arsenal, man. He's been one of the best center backs in the Prem. The question really is, who's it going to be right next to him? Honestly, I don't know who Deschamps is going to pick. I mean, he could pick Konate. I think that would be the best shout. It would have been Upamecano, but I don't know, man.
Lived up to it, man.
Yeah, he hasn't lived up to it. No. I think he's had just honestly not a good season at Bayern. Yes, he's had good moments, but he has proven himself to be too mistake prone. If you play Upamecano, you are guaranteeing yourself for him to make a mistake. Yeah. So I just think all right, that'd be a little sketchy to play him. I don't know. I just think it's Saliba for sure, but then other than that, it gets a little weird.
I think if you have a healthy Konate, you gotta go with Konate, man. I think that'd be just a really good, solid, reliable center back pairing that you have right there for yourself. And this whole team, I think it really is tough to find a weak point, if I'm being honest. I have France going to the final.
Yeah.
I have them going to the final. I have that as their potential, and I could see them very, very easily lifting the title here at the 2024 Euros in Germany. I could see that, man. I really could. I think that's their potential, is tournament champions going into it. I don't need to be convinced after 2 or 3 games and see them gain chemistry like how I do at Germany, for example. For France, I know right off the bat they are title contenders and they'll be one of the favorites to lift the trophy.
Yeah. Truly, form does not matter with this side. I agree with you. I'm applying the same pressure that I'm applying to England. This team is a title contending team. They should go all the way. Minimum, this team should make a semifinals appearance. What I'm really interested to see, though, is that this France team, for as much success as they've seen over these last 10 years, they have not won a Euros, right? They got excruciatingly close in 2016 against Portugal, but they've kind of underwhelmed, right, at 2020. So I think this batch of players recognize, hopefully, that, all right, let's get ourselves a Euros, man. I know Griezmann would love one. I know Mbappe would love one. I know Giroud would love one. Tchouaméni, Adrien Rabiot, all of these players would love to grab themselves a Euro title, man. And I'm hoping that they have a good tournament, but they have to. Their quality's too good. They're going to have a good tournament.
What was the last time they won? I think it was in 2000 with Zidane. I think it was the last time they lifted this tournament. So, yeah, I agree. They have to have this trophy as part of their trophy cabinet to really solidify the greatness and the heights of this French team that we've seen in the past 8 years. It's been so incredible. The World Cup truly represents that, but they do need that continental trophy of the Euros to be able to just maximize their trophy cabinet, for being honest. Let's have some fun with this now, bro. Who gets second place in this group? Who gets second place? We have a feisty Austrian side coached by Ralf Rangnick. You have a Polish team who I'm not even going to try to be optimistic about. They're getting fourth. and you have the Netherlands, a Dutch side led by Ronald Koeman. Who do you have getting second?
I might go with a little surprise here and say Austria gets second place, man.
What's the argument?
Here's the argument. They're in very good form right now, similar to Hungary, in my opinion, and also very similar to Hungary. What makes Austria so great is that they are a collective unit. It isn't one singular player that's a standout for Austria. It really is how the midfield and offensive line work with each other. This Austrian team is a club football team disguised as an international team, bro. Seriously. Dude, they run like a Bundesliga team. And they have a German coach in Ralf Rangnick, and he employs like a classic Bundesliga press, and they work it to perfection. In their last friendly against Turkey, 8 out of the 11 starters all played in the Bundesliga. Bro. So they really do emulate that kind of club German style of football. And the thing is, though, is that it works. This is not a team of stars. This is a team of players who know their exact role. And when you look at the quality, well, it's Bundesliga quality, man, which is, top 3 league in the world. So we're not messing around here when we're talking about Austria. I'm really excited to see this team kind of pop off here. They showed good promise 3 years ago at the Euros. I think that was the beginning of this Austrian side kind of forming themselves to be a good threat in Europe. And dude, since then, since they got Ralf Rangnick, they've not stopped progressing their level of play. I'm very impressed by what I see and how they play and how they approach every single game. They have a really free-flowing offense because they get the ball early, high up with that press, and then from there, they just send it out to the wings, and all of the midfielders join in on the attack. So there's not really one standout guy that's getting all the goals. They're spreading the wealth, but it's because of the system that Ralf Rangnick employs with his Austrian side. It's brilliant to watch.
Ralf Rangnick joining this team a few years back, 20 matches coaching, 12 wins, 3 draws, 5 losses, a really solid record there. Ranked number 25 in FIFA's rankings and finished second in qualifying for the Euros behind Belgium. You got guys like Gregoritsch, Arnautovic, Konrad Laimer, Marcel Sabitzer, Seewald, Baumgartner, Kevin Danso. Really good guys here. I actually think in comparison to Hungary, they have better individual quality, but they play just as well as a team. And I could honestly almost copy and paste my Hungary analysis and put it for Austria, bro, because I feel such a similar energy behind both these teams. I swear, both these teams would have done damage at the World Cup if it was just a year later. Because in 2023, both of them, bro. Both. And it's funny how we have 2 very parallel stories happening at the same time in Europe. 1 loss in their last 14 games. The only thing that worries me upon doing my research, the only thing that stood out to me as a potential red flag is seeing the Austrians comment on a couple of absences they have due to injury.
Oh, and this is massive, actually. If I could mention one, please. The biggest miss is Chaverschlager. He is the biggest miss by far because he was the tempo setter. He set the rhythm for the midfield press for this Austrian side. He started everything. He's box to box. He's physical, but he also possesses really good handles on the ball. He did everything from a defensive and offensive midfield perspective. Fuck. And he's out for this Euros. He's completely out.
It's like an orchestra without their conductor,
It is, bro.
man.
They don't have their engine anymore.
I don't know what beat to follow, bro. I'm worried now.
The good news is as I alluded to before, this team is more than just one player. It really is the individuals coming together that makes Austria so powerful because Seewald and Konrad Laimer have been immense alongside Schlager. It hasn't just been Schlager, but it will suck knowing that your leader in midfield is gone. But I do trust Konrad Laimer and Seewald to take up that workload. I trust them. And then who comes in? Well, you could put Sabitzer in that box-to-box role. He's very smart. He obviously got himself to a Champions League final.
That's all he did. So.
Exactly. So I truly believe he can handle this pressure. It's just obviously Schlager was better at it. Yeah. So it is a downgrade, but I trust this Austrian midfield to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I saw Schlager get described as the embodiment of Ralf Rangnick's ideas.
Damn, yeah. No, yeah.
That hurts me. That saddens me a little bit because I think I saw that the injury just happened as well.
I know,
so
bro.
It feels like this could have been avoided, or we're right on the precipice of a really special, fully healthy side here, and we won't have Schlager joining the team.
Sucks.
And with him as well, and joining his absence will be David Alaba, who just won't be fit enough to see this tournament out after being gone for most of the season this year as well for Real Madrid. That's unfortunate because there was a time where Alaba was clearly the highest quality player for Austria, playing at Bayern Munich and now Real Madrid, but he won't be here to lead that back line. I think that's also a bit of a loss.
Yeah, it's a big loss. He would have brought so much experience, just like Pepe did at the World Cup for Portugal. It's a massive miss for Austria. I'd say the only good twist you could put on it is that Alaba has been out for a while, so I think the coach and the players have kind of already known that he wouldn't be here. It would have been nice to have him, but I think they're more prepared for that loss over Schlagers.
It just makes me a little sad, bro, because Alaba, I remember, was part of when he was a youngster coming up playing with Bayern Munich. He was like the promising talent for Austria, and when you looked at it, they really didn't have anybody else on that team besides Arnautovic in his prime, I believe. Yeah. And I remember that team was pretty whack, pretty weak. But now he's in his prime age, he's in his best shape, and now he's got the best Austrian team surrounding him, and now he won't be able to join them. And so that's just unfortunate because I think he's deserving of a team like the one that he has right now. Hopefully he can be here for the 2026 World Cup and get back to health, and I hope that is what's going to end up happening. But for this tournament specifically, it just does feel like a big miss in terms of his narrative because I feel like he's always wanted to have a team like this built around him for his national squad, and now he just won't be able to join them.
Damn, that's depressing.
That's a little sad, man. This one makes me sad, man. This one makes me sad.
Dude, you're right. For the longest time, I only knew of two Austrians, Alaba and Arnautovic. Truly. Wow. Yeah, but now we've got Florian Grilic, we have Christoph Baumgartner, players going off in the Bundesliga, so it's looking so much brighter for Austria. But yeah, hopefully Alaba can make the World Cup squad at least. Question
for the folks: will injuries hold Austria back, or will they be able to prevail? Let us know in the comment section down below. I'm stuck, man. I'm stuck. I don't know if I can put them second. I don't know if I can put them third. Let's get through our Netherlands-Dutch discussion, and then I can make my pick. But Austria is right there for sure.
Yeah.
Right there. Let's talk about the Netherlands, coached by Ronald Koeman, ranked number 7 in FIFA's rankings right now, and finished second in Euros qualification behind the one and only France, who is in this group and is a team that they could not defeat in 2 separate bouts. You got guys like Memphis Depay, Gravenberch, Jeremy Frimpong, Frankie de Jong, Gakpo, Xavi Simons, and then it gets really fun when you look at the defense. De Vrij, Nathan Ake, De Ligt, Van de Ven from Tottenham, and now Van Dijk. Before we get into any deep analysis, is this the best defense in Europe? Because we just spoke about France's being very, very good. Does the Netherlands have a better defense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, from an individual perspective, I think the Netherlands boast the most star center backs at the Euros. Dude. It's kind of nuts, bro. I mean, again, Nathan Ake, Stefan de Vrij, Virgil van Dijk, Mickey van de Ven, who just had an incredible season at Tottenham. Those are 4 world-class center backs, and only 2 or 3 of them can play. That's the crazy part.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think it's up there, bro. I think it's one of the best ones in Europe for sure. Maybe the goalkeeper holds him back a little bit.
Yeah, the goalkeeping situation is really interesting because remember at the World Cup they brought a guy who had just made his debut essentially. Sillisen's obviously no longer part of this Dutch squad as he's now up there in age. So yeah, the goalkeeping situation is kind of wide open. So if you're Dutch, man, and you're a goalkeeper, you could maybe find yourself into the 11, bro.
You got a great chance. You got a great defense in front of you. Since the World Cup ended, the Netherlands have lost to Germany, France, Italy, and Croatia. That's my biggest thing.
Oh, yeah.
Can they win 6 out of 7 games in this tournament in order to lift the trophy? I get worried because when you look at how they match up against elite squads, they seem to struggle, bro. And that's really surprising given the talent and the names on paper. But I think it's what makes this Netherlands team, this Dutch team, a little weird to assess because you can speak super highly about their defense. You can even speak really highly about their midfield. Offensively, I think the same questions remain as we had going into the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Can you really rely on Cody Gakpo, Memphis Depay once again? The rise of Xavi Simons might have an impact on this team.
It might.
Daniel Malin is also playing really good football. Weghorst is on this team and Bergwijn too. Are these guys enough to match the level of the midfield and defense to really elevate this team against top teams in Europe? That's where I get a little questionable, because so far, I don't think we've seen that.
The thing is I think their offense is actually decent. Like, obviously more than decent. If you have a front two of, let's say, Memphis Depay and Cody Gakpo, you could also go Memphis Depay and Veghorst if you want something a little bit more direct. Or if you want to get creative, you could go Memphis Depay and Xavi Simons, or you pair Xavi Simons with somebody. There's actually a lot of different combinations that Koeman can go with. He has not cemented a pairing yet. He keeps rotating every single game. But I think that's a good thing, because you could just rotate these 5 players in and out for the entire tournament, and I actually think it'll keep their offense very fresh, because each one of those players has a completely different style of attack. And then underneath that, you have Tiani Reinders, who has had an excellent season at AC Milan this year. He had a really good season the year prior when he went all the way to the Conference League semifinals with AZ Alkmaar. This is one of the more silky attacking midfielders, and he's making a name for himself as we speak. I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for him to show himself on a global stage. So offensively, I'm actually not too worried about the Dutch. And when you look at the wingbacks, I mean, it's Denzel Dumfries, one of the best. He's been one of the best wingbacks in Italy on that right-hand side. Or, dude, you could play Frimpong. I think that's insane depth.
Yeah.
Being able to have both of those guys, or you play Dumfries and Frimpong in a wing position, and you just have double overload from an attacking perspective on that right-hand side. And then on the left, you have Daley Blind, the tried and true trusty old man in Daley Blind. He does not step a foot wrong, doing incredible things with Girona this year. So going forward, I'm actually not worried about the Dutch. They've proven that they can score against the world's best. It's contradictory, because it's their defense that's the problem.
How's
It's
that?
the defense. They lead goals, bro. Every single game that they play, they concede at least 1 or 2. And clean sheets just doesn't exist with this Dutch side. And I think it makes sense, because I don't know if it's so much the defense's fault, but I think it's the midfield, man. If you look at the 2 midfielders that is probably going to be, because you have a very attacking Tiani Reinders as the attacking midfielder, then all that's left is Frankie de Jong, not known for his defense, right? If he's healthy. And then there's really no one else to put alongside Frankie de Jong. I don't think Koeman knows who he's going to put there either. It could have been Darun, but he's out, unfortunately. Really sucks, because he had such a good season with Atalanta, and he's been good there for a couple years now. But it's that defensive midfield for the Netherlands, they just don't provide enough coverage for the back line. So it's very silky. It's very entertaining when the Dutch go forward, at least from a creative perspective, but it leaves holes at the back. And it doesn't matter how good Van Dijk, Ake are, they can't cover that much space. And I think just the communication breaks down, and if Dumfries and Daley Blind are up like they usually are, it's like a 3-on-3 situation at times. So I think that's where the Netherlands just get kind of done in, is it's in transition. When they lose the ball and they have too many men committed forward, they are very, very vulnerable. But I think it's what makes Dutch games really fun to watch, man.
They're going to be really fun.
It's really fun to watch, yeah.
Dutch football is a must-watch this tournament, for sure. I'm with you, because of how open they might be at times, or how forward-thinking they are as well. But it's that exactly that makes me a little worried about them, because when I look at their record against top teams, I already mentioned it, losses to Germany, to France twice in their group, Italy, Croatia. I think there's a clear gap between the Netherlands and the top teams in Europe. I see them as a second-tier team right now, man. I really do. And it's unfortunate, because they have the names on paper to be much better than that. But whether it's on Koeman, whether it's on the chemistry, the dynamic that exists within this team, I don't think it's enough to be able to lift the Euros trophy this year. And so I ultimately don't have them as a contender, but I do have them getting out of this group in second place. I'm going to say that much.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, because I could say so many negative things about the Netherlands, but they're paradoxical, because I honestly think this team could make a deep run. I label them as basically dark horses of this tournament. I don't see them as title contenders. But if they make a nice quarterfinals appearance and get very close to semis, I'll be like, yeah, this is the quality that the Netherlands possess. We saw it at the World Cup. Like, this is largely the same team that went there a year and a half ago, and they were a penalty shootout away from beating Argentina, right? So this Dutch side can beat anybody. They just don't show that they can often. And I think that's why it's frustrating if you're probably a Dutch fan. But I think those negative points that we critiqued is why I have an organized team like Austria taking advantage of them in this group stage. So I'm going to go Austria second, but Netherlands very, very close behind them in third. And I would have the Netherlands definitively qualifying as a third place team.
I think that match will be really close. That Netherlands-Austria match is going to be a banger, bro. It's going to be incredible to see.
Yeah.
I do think the injury of Schlager will impact this team a little bit, and will get them the third place spot. Netherlands gets second, but interchangeable for me. I'll take any opinion here. But folks, let me know, what do you think about this Dutch side? Do you trust them more than we do, or are you as questionable of them as we are? I got Netherlands in second, you got them in third, meaning that in fourth place we have the mighty we have Poland finishing this group off. You have the floor, because I don't want to talk about this team, bro.
Polski, man. What is there to say? They squeaked into this tournament. They had to go via the playoff route, and they weren't even in a tough group, by the way. Let's make that double clear.
Third, bro. They got third in that group,
man. And they played Estonia. They got, Estonia. What a gift, by the way. What a gift to get Estonia. You got through that match. And then 0-0 in a very cagey match against the Welsh team. And it goes to penalties, right? So Poland barely get their asses into this tournament. But hey, it's another major tournament for this Polish side. I just see this team as bang average, man. I'm talking the most average team you could ever witness in a European tournament. This is Poland, bro. They've been average for a couple years. I used to like this Poland team. I did, maybe 4 years ago, because they have really good players. You have Lewandowski, you have Swiderski playing at a decent level. You still have Piotr Zieliński, who is a maestro in the midfield. And there's some players that aren't there anymore, like Kamil Glik, the center back from Monaco, is no longer in the squad, Krychowiak. And so a lot of these veteran players just are no longer here for Poland. But, there's still some genuine quality here. Do not get me wrong. But when you see this Polish team play, game in, game out, for the last 4 years, man, they've been consistently average. And what does that mean? That means they can't compete against the second or first tier of European teams. So if you're expecting this Polish team to do anything above just get a draw, maybe get one win, but probably not in this group, then you're delusional.
Was qualifying for the Euros low-key like a curse? Kind of something negative that ultimately stunts their growth? Because the perspective I'm seeing from a lot of Polish fans is they almost wish they hadn't qualified, because it delays the rebuilding period for this team, if there's anything to build off of in that sense.
Damn, dude, I think it is.
Kind of Mexico-esque.
I think it's bad that Poland made this tournament. When they qualified, I was like, damn it, I wish the Euros was only 23 teams.
No.
Yeah. I wish they had a group of 3. I wish they had one group of 3, because
just for the sake of not having to watch Polish football for 90 minutes.
That's exactly what I'm saying. 3 times, that's work, bro. That's work. That's Poland shouldn't be here. What will be interesting, though, let's look at the fun narratives at least. Lewandowski has to be his last Euros, right? Mm-hmm. This has to be it. And honestly, he finished the last 6 months at Barcelona. He looked good. He actually looked really good. First 6 months, pretty bad, but these last 6 months in the calendar year of 2024, Lewandowski honestly looked like his old self. He was retrieving the ball with his back to goal, but then he was always finding Rafinha, always finding Joao Felix really cleverly, and then he would make these really good runs into the box, get on the ends of these really good balls, and finish really well. So Lewandowski still is a top quality striker. Obviously, he just doesn't have the pace anymore, or maybe the strength, but it's all still there, bro. It's all still in his head. So that'll be really interesting to see. But, I mean, as we've seen, though, the rest of the Polish supporting cast they just can't do it, man. They try. I'm not saying that they don't try, but I just think the way that they set up, it's just they pass it too slow. They look a little lost at times. They used to rely on just giving the ball to Lewandowski. I don't think it's going to work anymore, because he just doesn't have the pace. I don't know what they're going to do. I just know it's going to be nothing greater than average.
That's my thing, though, with even looking at the fun narratives for Poland. Like, dude, I've been hearing about this Lewa narrative for 10 years now, about the full Polish team not being enough to to assist him, to feed him, to put him in promising positions. It's to the point now where I think Leva, once that summertime comes, it feels like he's going to boot camp. Like, he's miserable.
Dude,
he's like wishing he was in Malta relaxing instead of having to play for the Polish national team, because the prospect of this team finally giving him what he ultimately wants offensively, I just don't think it's going to end up happening, man. And it's kind of depressing because this is one of the greatest strikers we've ever seen in modern football not being able to fully thrive at the international level the way that he deserves. Yeah. Because once Poland makes it to a major tournament, bro, it truly does feel like it's just the same old result in the same damn way. So if I'm Leva, man, honestly, I wonder how he truly is feeling deep down inside, behind the scenes. Is he even happy to be here, or is he wishing that he was vacationing in Cancun?
Dude, honestly, great point, because there was a time when I got excited about Poland because they had players like Zalewski and Matty Cash coming through the ranks, and I got duped. I got duped, man, because Zalewski's he's dropped off, honestly. He used to be a big starter for Roma. Now he's maybe a rotational player. Like, he's just not getting the same minutes that he once was, and you see it on the pitch. He's so inconsistent, man. And then Matty Cash, maybe I can be less harsh on him because he's just been a little injury prone this season. Hopefully he'll be healthy, but even if he is, I just don't know if he'll be 100%. So it's just like, there's been so many players that have come and gone through Poland to try and help Lewandowski, but they've all failed. And I think the same thing will happen this year.
I have France finishing in first, the Netherlands in second, Austria third. You have Austria in second, Netherlands in third. I'm happy with either one, honestly.
Me too.
If Austria goes through in second, bro, I'm just as excited. So don't get me wrong there. Poland in fourth. Folks, let us know, how do you see Group D panning out at the Euros 2024? Group E at the Euros consists of Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine, and Belgium.
Yeah.
This is quite an interesting mix, in my opinion.
It's a really interesting mix.
What do you think ultimately characterizes this group? Is it as simple as Belgium getting 9 points out of it, or is it more about the underdog prowess of Ukraine, Romania, and Slovakia?
I think this group will be a testament to see how much does qualification really mean. Like, does it matter? We've seen it matter. We've also seen it not matter. We'll get to see, is Romania real?
That's the one.
We'll get to see if Ukraine got... We'll get to...
Romania real is crazy. Yes, they're fucking real. Or maybe they're not. We don't know, bro. Maybe they're not.
Is the test that Ukraine went through, those trials and tribulations, are those going to mean actual good things for them in this tournament? Slovakia is interesting too, just because they have a lot of low-key talent. And then there is Belgium, right? One of the better sides in the world. And will they just kind of see out this group and win every single match? There's a lot of questions in this group, dude.
A lot of questions. I think the most safe answer I can give you is that Belgium will top this group.
Yeah.
Belgium will top this group. Coached by Domenico Tedesco, ranks number 3 in FIFA's rankings. They topped their Euros qualification group in style with 22 goals for, only 4 goals against. This is a group that they shared with Austria and Sweden. So 2 formidable sides. Timothy Castagne, Kevin De Bruyne, Yuri Tillemans, Axel Witsel, Romelu Lukaku, Trossard, Doku, and Openda. Some really good names on this team, but one big one that's going to be missing is the absence of Thibaut Courtois, who will not be at this tournament. Upon my research, seeing that there's a bit of a fallout, bro, between player and coach, where ultimately the gist that I got was that he refused a selection after an argument with Tedesco about being captain. And from what I'm hearing from the Belgians, Courtois got a bit of an ego, man.
Oh, he's definitely got an ego, bro. Yeah, I mean, he chose the great Atleti betrayal by going to Real Madrid, and he was happy to do it. Like, he was eager. He was shaking Florentino Perez's hand with a big smile on his face, even though Atleti had given him everything. Wow. So it's been pure. He used, instead of seeing Atletico as like a home, he used it as a stepping stone.
My goodness.
So that's pure ego. Fuck him.
Yeah, I get it, bro. Yeah, you and as an Atleti fan, I get it, bro. I completely forgot that he was there too. That's crazy that you haven't forgotten, but it makes sense. So Courtois will not be here. And I think it's interesting because it kind of represents, in a way, the fall of Belgium's defense, in my opinion. With no Courtois now back there, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And just looking at the clubs that all these defenders now pertain to, Fulham, Anderlecht, Leicester City, Trabzonspor, Club Brugge, and Rennes. Whereas in the past, you had Premier League talent or Premier League players that play for the Belgian national team defending that back line. I think there's been a major drop-off specifically in that sector of the pitch. Where there hasn't, is in the midfield with the one and only Kevin De Bruyne leading this team as easily the best player for them and now getting into really good form after coming back from injury for Manchester City and now preparing himself for this major tournament.
Overall, I agree. I think that's actually the main narrative for Belgium going into this tournament is how are they in this transitionary phase of this national team? Because the golden generation, right, went to the semifinal of the 2018 World Cup, and starting in 2016, people really had high hopes for Belgium. That's when they started entering the top 5 of the FIFA rankings and established themselves as one of the best international teams in the world. And so pretty much since 2016, people had Belgium as title contenders, you know? Could they actually take this golden generation and turn it into silverware? Here's a fun fact. Belgium are the only team in FIFA history to have topped the FIFA rankings and not win any major tournaments. They've never won the Euros, and they've never won the World Cup. The Netherlands are historically the best team that's never won the World Cup, but they won the Euros in '88.
They got the Euros. Damn,
so the Belgium has never won anything.
God, that trophy cabinet's empty.
It's empty.
It's empty, yet they've amassed such incredible heights.
Yes, that's the thing. And I think honestly that translates to a whole lot of pain for this Belgium team, man. A whole lot of pain because I honestly, I even thought that they were going to lift some sort of title at a certain point, but last time's World Cup, I think, was the end of the golden generation definitively. Eden Hazard was a part of that squad, bro. Like, isn't that crazy?
That's nuts,
like,
man.
I can't believe that. It seems like Hazard played so long ago, but he actually featured for Belgium a year and a half ago. But I think that was definitely the signaling of the death of the golden generation. But I will say, if you compare him to like Germany's transitional period, Spain's transitional period, honestly, it might be a quick rebirth for Belgium because, I mean, when you look up top, there's some players that are in fine form, my friend. Jeremy Doku, he's going to be a menace down that left wing. He's 21, 22 years of age. He's just getting going to. Bagged himself a title with Manchester City this season. And once he came to the City, Pep pretty much integrated into the team pretty quickly. Like, it came to the point where it was Doku over Grealish this season. I think that's a massive point to make. And then on the other side, you have Leandro Trossard in his prime, a more creative type winger who likes to cut inside. We've seen the impact that he's had at Arsenal. Coming from Brighton, Mikel Arteta immediately put him in rotation. Starts one game, comes off the bench in the other, starts the next game. Like, he is one of the go-to guys for Arteta and got second place, very close behind City this season in the Premier League. That's who you have on the wings, bro. You have Romelu Lukaku, who, you know, for as much criticism as he gets, he's still an elite striker. Let's not forget that. And then if you have Kevin De Bruyne pulling the strings of that offensive three, that's a hell of an offense, man. You can't prove me otherwise. And then off the bench, you can bring on Luka Bacchio from Sevilla. You can bring on Lois Openda as well from RB Leipzig. There's some good offensive talent, bro, that's waiting to be unleashed for Belgium. And it's all young, minus Lukaku and De Bruyne. So I think there's a really good integration going on between the veterans that have remained and the young players that are coming through. Because when you look at the players behind De Bruyne, you could put Yuri Tielemans and Onana, a really good defensive pairing that are also very good off the pass, bro. So I think from the midfield and offensive perspective of Belgium, bro, they're one of the best, honestly, even though they're pretty young, all things considered. Where it does get hairy, though, is the defense, right? And I think that's where we're really going to see if Belgium gets tested. Maybe not in this group, but I think that's where Belgium might get, a little wavery here once they get to the knockout stage and play against Europe's best. But either way, I think the offense that they boast will be enough to remain competitive against anybody at the Euros.
I have their wingers listed as the most exciting sector, the most exciting part of this Belgian team. I really like the idea of Jeremy Doku finally getting the keys to this Belgian wing offense, if you will, and Leandro Trossard as well on the other side. I think that's really, really positive, man. I think that's really, really good. One guy at Arsenal, one guy at Manchester City, like two top clubs in the world. I love that pairing. Up top, it gets really interesting because Lukaku obviously is an elite striker and has been the go-to guy for Belgium. And I think he is going to end up starting these matches. But I'm curious to see how Tedesco manages the presence of Lois Openda, who had like almost 25 goals in the Bundesliga this year with RB Leipzig, and he's been working his way up the ranks these past 2-3 years, going off for RC Lens in Ligue 1 when they got second place just last year, then getting bought out by RB Leipzig and going off for them in the Bundesliga as well. His improvement has been massive. He's 24 years old right now, whereas Lukaku's 31. I think it's worth noting, or at least worth trying out, especially in this group where it's going to be such a ultimately easy matchup for them. I think you should try Openda for one match.
Yeah.
Start him up top for one match, maybe against Slovakia, maybe against Romania, and kind of gauge which player is in better form throughout their tournament, because I do think they have two really good focal points up top, and it's just a matter of making the right pick. I think Lukaku's a safer option because of the experience, and he will get that. I think he will get that selection, but just keep Openda on your radar. That's all I'm asking for Tedesco, because I think he could do some damage if he finds himself with the opportunity.
Yeah, it'll be super exciting to see the youngster in Openda, to see him actually establish himself as a menace, as a force going forward for Belgium. But that's why I like Belgium, man, is they have a lot of these players. Even you could extend this to Tielemans and Onana as well. They haven't really played at major international tournaments as the go-to guys for their country. Now they get this opportunity. And I think Openda, knowing that Lukaku's not on his way out, but is getting older, I think Openda can get excited himself that he will see the pitch. He can have an impact. And what I like about Belgium in general is, though, is I like the Tedesco's rotation. Throughout this entire qualification campaign, he really has rotated out this offensive line to see what works best, what players he wanted to bring to the Euros, what players mesh well with the midfield. I like Tedesco as a manager. I think he's really good at seeing which players fit best in his system, not just picking the best players individually. That's what I'm really excited about. But just to point out that hole one more time, I think Vertonghen's still playing as the center back, and he's like, what, 38? 38?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That's kind of crazy,
I don't know. We'll see.
He's been the go-to guy in a lot of these matches for Belgium. I won't be surprised if he starts. But yeah, he'll have that Pepe effect. You know, maybe he's still got it. I haven't seen him really play that much since he's now playing in Belgium. But
doesn't Witsel play center back for Belgium more too?
No, that's the thing though, is that Witsel always was a defensive midfielder for Belgium. It was Simeone who turned him into a center back. I don't know if that translation's been made fully at international level. So I wonder if Witsel even sees the pitch as a starter because of that. I really do wonder. I think they have left back issues as well. I think their starting left back Teat might have injury issues. I'm not sure if he's going to make it. So yeah, the back line of Belgium is definitely their weakest point.
I think it's interesting though how this time it feels like there's not any pressure on Belgium. And yet they're still ranked number 3 in the FIFA rankings. They still have incredible names. Kevin De Bruyne's still playing football. Lukaku's still here. But I feel like the pressure's gone. And it might be because of the impact that losing out on the 2022 FIFA World Cup had. The nail in the coffin, as you called it earlier. I feel like that almost had a lasting effect on the Belgian fans and maybe the rest of the media from outside the world, in that, you know, we kind of forgot about Belgium. We've kind of just put them off the radar. We kind of just left them out for dead. And maybe this ends up benefiting them mentally, because now they don't feel that weight. They don't feel that pressure of having to deliver with what was their golden generation. Now they can just play free-flowing football under a new head coach, by the way. I think that might end up being a really positive after effect of what happened at the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
Wow, dude, I didn't even realize this, but subconsciously, now it's coming to my main conscious, I've seen this Belgium side as, I see them as a promoted team, a team that got promoted but has a lot of skill. They splashed a lot of cash over the summer, so now they have a lot of new players that are young, and they might be able to make a big impact. But because they're so new, there's no pressure on them. I don't have any pressure on this Belgian side, but I expect them to top this group, and I expect them to play very well no matter who they face in the round of 16 and quarterfinals, because they have insane talent. But you're right, dude. Like, if Belgium lose in the round of 16, I'll be like, yeah, it's a job well done. I don't think people will be that hard
on them anymore, because we're kind of used to it. I'm going to be honest, but looking like at the context, looking at what's going on internally for the team, there has been a lot of improvements, a lot of good things happening. My biggest question to you and to the people watching is, do they go past quarterfinals?
Yeah, I would say no. I think quarterfinals is their max, but if they get a favorable draw and they've shown throughout the tournament that they're actually firing on all cylinders offensively and their defense looks okay, I might give them a shout for semis, but I'm going to say quarters.
I'm actually with you. I think max quarterfinals here. Anything beyond that, then I will truly be surprised. And props to them if they do. It would be an amazing thing. But for me, I do have Belgium getting to the quarterfinals max. The second biggest, most prominent question in this group is Romania real?
Yeah. Where is it on the map?
Where is it?
Is Romanian a language? No, I'm just kidding. It's one of the famous Latin languages, but Romania, beautiful country. Bucharest.
Coached by Andrew Tate.
Dude, Romania had a crazy qualifying campaign, man. They're unbeaten.
And it's why you pose the question, how much does the qualifying campaign actually matter? Because I think Romania truly represents it to the max. What the fuck does qualification in the Euros mean? Because they topped their group, man. They topped it while having Switzerland and Israel in their groups. And they also went undefeated. Mm-hmm. So does that say more about Romania, or does that say more about the quality of teams that they were grouped with?
Two things here. One, yes, it's definitely the quality of teams that they were grouped with. We already talked about the shortcomings of Switzerland. Let's make sure we don't forget that, because I think that played a major factor in Romania being able to top their qualifying group. Here's the crazy thing, bro. Romania did amazing things by qualifying in 2016. And I actually have a personal relationship with Romania because during that time, I was following every single one of their games at the time. They were playing really good football. Nicolae Stanciu, who's actually still part of this team today, he was going off. He had established himself as a really good, young, creative, attacking midfielder. And you could see it in the way that Romania were playing. They were going up against Spain at the time and competing, playing against them, being able to match them. And going into 2016, I had so much high hopes for that Romanian team. And they ended up bottom of their group. Here's what's crazy. That team in 2016 was unbeaten in their qualifying too.
God damn it.
Yep.
Oh,
and so they've literally been here before, and the result was a last place finish, even though they were unbeaten. So there definitely is arguments to be had. You have to take the qualification teams into account, because if you're playing against Switzerland, if you're playing against Israel, it probably doesn't mean anything.
Damn, dude. Damn, that's harsh, man, because
it's harsh.
Romanians might be feeling on top of the world with the way that they perform, bro.
They should, though.
Looking at the record in the last, they'd be undefeated. Yeah, if it wasn't for a 2-3 loss to the hottest international team in the world, Colombia, they'd be undefeated since November 2022.
Wow.
So that's crazy, because the most recent game was a 2-3 loss to Colombia. And I actually saw that match, and what I saw was a very quick Romanian side with some strength to them and the ability to counter. But I definitely did see a clear difference in quality between even them and a team like Colombia, who is such a great team right now, but I think is comparable to like the top teams in Europe. So I think there's a big gap here. I definitely do. My biggest question is it as bad as getting fourth in their group once again? Or can they actually get third or second this time around, improving upon that 2016 Euros performance?
Yeah, the way that they play now, I actually think it's better than it was in 2016. I think they have a lot more direct of an approach. So you still have a player like Stanciu who's really good on the ball, but it's route one for Romania. The reason why I think it works is because the players that they have up top, Puskás, Draguš, and Hagi, they're all really strong, physical type of forwards. They're not even real wingers, really. They're just forwards that play in a wide position. So you can throw long balls on either flank or centrally for Romania, and they're going to fight to get it. And when they do get it, the midfield joins them. That is what has made Romania really deadly in qualifying. I just don't know how it'll work against an elite side, right? Because it works against Switzerland. It works against Israel. And it works really well. But I just need to see it against Germany. I need to see it against Belgium, for example. Hell, honestly, even Ukraine, I think, will be a good test for Romania. I'm not going to go as far as to say that it's just flat out not going to work. I'm not going to go that far, because to go unbeaten, it does mean that you've worked on it and you've practiced it and execute your plan game in, game out. That's definitely what Romania have done. I don't want to undo that, but yeah, I'm just curious to see how they go up against better offenses and better defenses.
So then let's pose a question, guys. Are you buying into this Romanian side? Are you buying in? Are you buying stocks in this team? I'm sorry, but I'm not.
I'm not either.
I'm going fourth. I'm going fourth for them. Are you going to go third?
I'm going third for Romania.
Okay,
I think they will have an improved performance based off of 2016, but I just think it won't be enough to get past some good talent in this group.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Third for you, fourth for me. They have Dragusin in the back line, the Tottenham Premier League defender. So, I mean, that's a big name. That's a really good name to have there. The goalkeeper, Moldovan, I think I saw is signed to Atleti.
He's Atletico. He's Jan Oblak's backup.
He's the backup.
Horacio Moldovan, yeah.
I was wondering if he was going to be like the third or fourth string, but he's the direct backup then.
Yeah, and it makes him the second best goalkeeper at this Euros, right behind Jan Oblak. So watch out if you're Romanian.
This guy. Folks, let us know, are you buying into the Romanian side who's making their 6th Euros appearance? Let us know in the comments down below, because I do think this team is it's an enigma. It's very fascinating to see how you compare a team that did so well in the Euros qualification, but now how do they compete in the biggest tournament in Europe? With them in this group is Slovakia and Ukraine. Why don't we shift on over to Ukraine?
I like Ukraine. I really like this team, actually. I will say, though, they snuck into this Euros. Dude, if you watch the first playoff game against Bosnia, Bosnia should have won that game. Like, straight up. They were the better team for most of the entire match. If it wasn't for the great Bosnian squad implosion that happened in the 80th minute in that match, Ukraine would not be here. It's the Bosnians that let Ukraine back into that game. But Ukraine had a really good showing against Iceland, right? So that's where I think they ultimately deserved it, by getting that final playoff match against Iceland, beating them pretty handily. And Iceland were good in that match too. So overall, I'm really excited that Ukraine have been able to make it to this tournament, because at their best, they play some really silky football, man. They have some excellent midfielders who are really good on the ball. And then you have some interesting talent up top. Yaremchuk's been tremendous for Ukraine his entire international career. He's still putting in some really good minutes in La Liga. And then, of course, you have Mykhailo Mudryk, who, for as much shtick as he's gotten this season at Chelsea, he's a different dude at Ukraine, man. He's completely different. He's given a lot more free reign to roam, and he gets the ball a lot with this Ukraine side. So if you're a Mykhailo Mudryk fan specifically, watch Ukraine, because every other minute, Mudryk is touching the ball. It's actually fascinating to watch. But the reason why I think that works so well is because Mudryk is the type of guy that just needs reps.
Yeah.
Give him the ball, let him dribble.
Usage.
Yeah, usage.
High usage.
Let him dribble like 20 times, and he'll get past 3 times. And when he gets past those 3 times, it's deadly. So I think the more Mudryk just gets the ball, the more chances you give him, the actual more creation that generates for the Ukrainian offense. So I really like this Ukrainian team overall. And just in general, I mean, Sigankov on the other side, who's been fantastic for Girona. If you don't play Yaremchuk, you can play Dovbyk, who was the La Liga top goal scorer, by the way. So there's a lot of really good weapons that the Ukrainians have at their disposal, and I think they'll be able to use a lot of that here in the Euros.
Yeah, they got good players in every sector of the pitch. Up front, the front three I think is really nice. Mudryk, Dovbyk, and Sigankov, and then behind them Sudakov I think is really, really good.
Sudakov's good.
Sudakov's good, bro, from what I'm seeing. Midfield, you got the Zinchenko presence in the midfield playing for Arsenal, and then back you have Premier League talent Mikalenko playing for Everton, and then the one and only Andriy Lunin, who guided Real Madrid from the goalkeeping position to the UEFA Champions League final. The team is really good. One comment on the whole Euros qualification process that got crazy for them. When I was doing my research, and I'm going to sound Ukrainian saying this, a lot of Ukrainian folks claim that they should have gotten through automatically on a penalty that should have been given on Mykhailo Mudryk in that last match against Italy, where they ended up tying 0-0. If they get that penalty call and they score, they don't put themselves in that shoddy position of, going through a rigorous playoff system. So I will say that to support the Ukrainians in their efforts here. And I'll even double down on it because, bro, they didn't play a single game at home.
Yeah.
They played nothing but away games this entire time, and they made it to this tournament. What factor does that have on the team's mentality? Not truly playing at home, playing all these games, and ultimately in a away sense, and still getting results. I think that's ultimately a really good thing, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it genuinely shows the true quality. Like, if you want to know the true colors of this Ukrainian team, it's actually pretty high, man. Like, they're a team with a lot of talent. Again, like I said, the way that they play, it's almost Spanish in the sense. Like, they like to have a lot of possession. They like to knock the ball around. And then when they see Mudryk try to make a run, they try to release him really quickly. Same with Sigankov. So Ukraine possess some really cool players that can play some really good football. I like Ukraine. My only worry, right, is They played England. They had Italy in their European qualification group. Pretty tough, honestly. And I think it's even more of a merit that they're able to qualify, right? Because they were right behind Italy. Right behind them. But they couldn't beat them, you know? And I think those are two good tests. They had 4 tries to England, to Italy. They did tie them twice, but they could not beat them. So I think there is definitely a limitation on how high this Ukrainian team can punch. But hey, they've proven that they can at least play up to Europe's best. I just think that starting in the round of 16, if you have to play against a good team, and then another good team in the quarters, and then another good, I think it's going to really stack up the pressure on this Ukrainian side. The max I have this Ukrainian team reaching probably is round of 16, but if they get a favorable draw, I could see them in the quarters.
So do they fall under the dark horse label, yes or no? Because do they have that ability to potentially surprise a top team? Let me know in the comments down below, folks.
Yeah, for real, man.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know. Dark horse?
I'm curious to know if people
think they're right on the precipice of it.
They're right there.
They're the second best roster in this group, clearly, and the team has a bunch of character, bunch of grit, and the ability to come back in matches. Because if you look at the results, they were put in some tough spots throughout this European qualification campaign, but they were able to still get points out of the match, whether it was through tying the game or ultimately getting the victory. I think that's really positive. I think the mentality of this team, I think, is really, really strong with everything they've gone through, even just with their own situation going on at home.
Yeah.
I think their mentality is very, very strong. I think that'll play a big part. I just wonder if their talent level can match that level of mentality to really guide them into a top echelon of European football. I'd love to see it. I really, really would, bro. But I struggle putting them in that dark horse category.
Me too. And I won't. Like I said, I see this team as a round of 16 team, a solid one at that. And again, if they get a favorable draw, then expect them in the quarters. And then at that point, you know, we saw how close Switzerland got 3 years ago. So I think Ukraine definitely boasts the same skill set that Switzerland did 3 years ago. So I think Ukraine could be a surprise at this tournament. Whether they are or not, that's why I'm not going to say they're dark horses.
Oh, man, I'm scared to say no right out. I'm scared to say no. I'm going to give them some love here. I'm going to go dark horse, lower tier Ukraine.
Lower tier dark horse.
Lower tier. They're like a brown horse.
A gray horse, yeah.
A gray horse. I got them as a gray horse. Folks, let us know. What do you think about this Ukrainian team? Are they a dark horse? And how far will they go in this Euros tournament? We have Belgium in first, Ukraine in second. I have Romania in fourth. You have them in third, meaning that you in fourth place have Slovakia getting last place in this group.
I have Slovakia getting last place in this group. I'll be honest, maybe it's just because they sound like Slovenia. I haven't really followed this team that much. I do know that they had a decent showing at the last Euros, right? And it was a team that played tidy football, that have good players throughout the entire pitch, Kuchka being one of them, Andre Duda alongside him in the midfield, but then you have Haraslin, who had a really good qualifying campaign, and then of course you have Lobotka, right? Really good all-around central midfielder. So it's not that the Slovakians don't have good players. I just really do wonder, and it's kind of the same question I have for Romania basically, is can they actually play teams that are better than them? And my ultimate answer after watching their highlights, watching their games is I just don't think they've really been able to prove that they can punch above their weight, right? I think Ukraine can. I think Ukraine can reach a level that is higher than themselves, but I don't think Slovakia can actually achieve that, even though they do have good players on their squad.
But you think they can punch higher than Romania?
I think, truly, that the third place position is wide open. And honestly, if Ukraine show up with a bit of nerves, which they've shown to kind of do that, then the second place position is also wide open for both Slovakia and Romania. So for me, the only definitive spot is that first place spot for Belgium. But honestly, second, third, fourth, I think it could be any combination of these three teams.
Slovakia coached by Francesco Calzona, who until today, with Antonio Conte being appointed Napoli manager, was coaching Napoli at the same time.
I know, dude. Pretty crazy.
I don't like that. I don't like that, man. You can't I'm not your side chick. I can't be the second option here, bro.
Yeah.
Make me the first. So Slovakia has been dealing with that. Ranked number 48 in FIFA's rankings. Got second place in Euro qualification behind Portugal with 22 points. A good amount of points, honestly. Shout out to them. Euro 2023, they ended in third in a group with Sweden, Spain, and Poland. And this is their third consecutive Euros appearance, which I think is really, really good. You already mentioned some names. They also got in the back line Milan Skriniar, a really good defender. Henko, Lobotka, Bozanic, Robert Mak. They've only lost 3 of their last 15 games so far, and 2 of those losses came against Portugal and 1 to Austria. So I think there's positivity here for this team. And that's why ultimately I have them in third place. I think they end up getting a better result here than Romania. Their defense is one of their strongest points, only allowing 8 goals in qualification. It's the offense where it gets questionable, and ultimately what I think will hold them back from competing or getting out of this group in second place. They might get through as being one of the better third place teams, but I definitely see the limitation for the Slovakian team for sure being round of 16 if they make it there. So to round it all out, Group E, we have Belgium in first, we have Ukraine in second, but then we flip with 3 and 4. I got Romania in fourth, Slovakia in third. You got Romania in third, Slovakia in fourth. Folks, let us know, how do you see Group E shaping out at the Euros 2024? I think this one is actually really, really interesting. And the last group of the Euros 2024 is Group F, consisting of Portugal, Turkey, Georgia, and Czech Republic. I actually want to start directly with Portugal right here, coached by Roberto Martinez and ranked number 6 in FIFA's rankings. Looking at Europe specifically, I think the top 2 squads clearly are England and France. Is Portugal squad number 3, man?
Yeah. They're stacked.
No
bro.
question?
They're stacked. And what's crazy, no question. What's crazy is I feel like we say the same thing about Portugal every single tournament. One, this team is better than it's ever been before, and 2, can they actually play together and go far in a tournament, though? It's just, we ask the same types of questions, but I mean, when you look at the squad, you'd hope that this team goes to the semifinals. You'd hope that this team could make a finals, but they pretty much underwhelm every single time. So. And the one time that they didn't have that much expectation, they won it in 2016.
Yeah. That's actually pretty insane. And considering the way that they won it, it was nuts, man. Yeah. With Ronaldo going off in those knockout stages and then Eder scoring the game-winning goal for them against a mighty French team that was hosting the tournament at the time. Ridiculous. What a massive achievement. But I agree. That's my frustration ultimately with this Portuguese team, is that I think they deserve more trophies. They deserve more silverware with the talent that they have. They should have more silverware with the talent that they have, but they don't. Ultimately, going out to Morocco in the quarterfinals of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, I mean, people were calling that a choke job, looking at the expectations that were had for them in this team. And ultimately, I agree, man, because I want so much more for this team, and I think the Portuguese fans want that too. And it's why they ultimately ended up shifting coaches, getting rid of Fernando Santos and hiring Belgium's very own Roberto Martinez to lead this team. And so far, so good, man. Honestly, looking at the results, they topped the Euros qualification group with 30 points out of 30 available points, 10 victories, 36 goals for, 2 goals against. Players like Diogo Costa, Diego Dalot, Joao Cancelo, Ruben Diaz, Bruno Fernandes, Palhinha, Vitinha, Bernardo Silva. CR7 is back, and this will definitely be his last Euros tournament.
It has to be.
Diogo Jota, Rafael Leao. I mean, this team should at the very least be making semis, man.
Oh, yeah. At the very least. You already said that they had a perfect record in qualifying, like truly perfect. Every single match was a win for Portugal. But they're the 8th team ever to actually have a perfect qualification. So they actually put themselves in high status by doing this achievement. But not only that, yes, they only conceded 2 goals, 9 clean sheets. 9. It was only 1 game that they actually conceded.
Good Lord.
It's insane.
Good Lord.
They've been absolutely dominant. And I think the first person I want to mention here is actually Roberto Martinez, because unfortunately he had a really sour ending with Belgium, right? And ultimately he got a lot of shtick for Belgium's shortcomings. But I think it was just the end of the road for Martinez in Belgium is ultimately what it was. If a manager stays around too long at any team, this kind of is usually what happens. So I'm not even going to really look at the criticism from Martinez. Yeah, he could have maybe done a little bit more with Belgium, but I think making the semifinals appearance, always being competitive during his tenure is enough for me, in my opinion. And when you look at the coach that Portugal had before Martinez and Fernando Santos, man, I mean, Santos was notorious for being a defensive-minded coach and rarely adapted his 11 and was always resistant to play attacking football. Whereas Martinez, he may not be the most offensive-minded manager or the most tactical, But he's an upgrade from Fernando Santos, at least from an offensive perspective. And I think it really shows with this Portuguese side right now, because when you look at them, they are playing really free-flowing football. There's actually a lot more rotation going on in the midfield and in the offensive line. Realistically, like, I think only Rafael, Bernardo Silva, and Bruno Fernandes have their spots secured. The other three positions around those three guys truly, honestly, is wide open. I guess you'll say Ronaldo will start as the number 9, but well, we need to have a conversation about Ronaldo alone, honestly. And honestly, let's have it right now, bro, because CR7, what's his role at this tournament?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know, because the way that he was utilized at the 2022 World Cup, he came off the bench in their most important game. And that blows my mind, not in the sense of that being a wrong decision, but just in the sense of what a conundrum you have here with such a storied character. It's just not comparable to any other situation in world football, because you have one of the GOATs of the sport, one of the greatest players to ever grace the pitch, still on your team, still trying to vie for a spot in that starting position, and just now breaking the Saudi Arabian goal scoring record just a few days ago, man. So if you look at him as just a singular player individually beyond his history, I mean, you do have to call him up. The way he's going off for Al Nassr right now, the amount of goals, the quality that he's in tip-top form, still at a tender age of 38 years old. He's still that guy, but I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the guy you can hinge your hopes on once again, given that he's not the same player he was in his prime, and there are other players that are trying to compete for his position as well. It's a conundrum, bro, and I honestly don't know what to do here. I'm interested to see more than anything how Roberto Martinez handles it, because Santos got criticized for how he handled it, and he had to make some really tough decisions. Does Martinez just instill that full faith on Ronaldo, and is he willing to die with Ronaldo ultimately at the top?
Dude, yeah, this is a conundrum. Not only was he the top goal scorer in Saudi Arabia this year, right, but also in historic fashion, he was Portugal's top goal scorer in the qualifying campaign. I mean, so it's just like, you look at the numbers, he has to start in this first match. If I'm Martinez, here's how I would approach it.
Okay.
I would start Ronaldo in the number 9 position. And if it looks like it's not working, or I bring on another player, I sub him out in the 60th minute, and it ends up being more free-flowing, then I bench Ronaldo for the rest of the tournament. And I know that sounds crazy, but just considering that if you really want to win titles, it's not about one player, it's about the team. If it makes more sense to have Ronaldo come off the bench than it is for him to start the match, then you have to have the balls to make that decision. You have to. The thing is, I'm still kind of stuck on, do I start Ronaldo on the bench or do I start him? I'm only starting him because of the numbers, but when you've seen Ronaldo play, there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad, right? For Portugal. The good is he's still an excellent finisher. He is in tip-top shape. He's still an avid runner, and the IQ is ridiculous. Like, he makes the smartest runs in football. There's no question about that. But for me, the bad is there's a lot of selfish moments now with Ronaldo. There's a lot of moments where he gets the ball out on the wing, and there's a wide open Fernandes. There's a wide open Leao. There's a wide open Bernardo Silva. And those players have the know-how either to give it back to Ronaldo or score the goal themselves or find another player wide open. We're talking about some of the world's best midfielders that Ronaldo plays with. I just think Ronaldo doesn't use them as much as he should. And the question is there another Portuguese player in that position that would use those midfielders? If there is, then that player has to play over Ronaldo. But if there's not, then yeah, definitely play Ronaldo.
Thing is, I don't think there is, man. Is Gonzalo Ramos the guy? Man, I don't think so.
I know.
I think he's honestly disappointed since his performance at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Yeah. Got bought out from, or at least went on loan, I'm not sure, to PSG. And I think he got like 11 or 13 goals this season, and didn't routinely start for the team either. Had some good moments for Benfica, but that's Portuguese league tax, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's good enough to just steal the job from Ronaldo permanently. And it's just such a crazy situation, because in what other team is benching a 38-year-old controversial?
Dude, yeah.
It's nuts, man. That part blows my mind.
It is crazy.
But I think just with everything that we know about Ronaldo, everything that he is, ultimately the biggest thing that I think plays a role here is, how does Roberto Martinez communicate with Ronaldo? Can he will him to be a little less selfish offensively and to be more open-minded when it comes to that final third? If he can, then I think you have to start Ronaldo all the way, because he does still have the capabilities of carrying your offensive workload and just having really brilliant moments. And especially given that it's his last Euros, I think he really will take it upon himself to deliver on the biggest stage once again.
That's a great point. And also, when you look at Ronaldo at club level for Al Nassr, he is the focal point for their offense. Every time Al Nassr get the ball, it really is find Ronaldo. And it's a great formula because, I mean, it works every single time. And the thing is that I actually think it hurts Ronaldo's international performances because he's so used to being the guy at Al Nassr. So I just wonder if when he tries to translate his play from Al Nassr to the international scene, is that translation clean? I don't know. And I know it sounds like I'm just bashing one of the greatest players of all time, and I don't want it to really come off as that as the conclusion. I'm just saying, if there is a better player to play, Martinez has to make that decision. Because if there is, then that will be Portugal's keys to success. The last thing I want to hear, bro, is Ronaldo shouldn't have got as much playing time and Portugal could have gone to the final. I don't want to hear that excuse. If Ronaldo plays every single game, fine. He will score. He's one of the best at it. But if there's any criticism towards him because he's seeing too much of the field, then I do not want to hear it. It's up to Martinez to be able to decide that. So I just don't want any excuses, which is why I'm trying to lay it out right here.
But can't exceptions be made for the greats? Like, I feel like we see that happen all the time, man. Like, it's just part of it. You live and die by this guy, and you lived by him in 2016, and he got you that trophy. Now, as a thank you, you see his career out for Portugal, starting him every match and having that excuse at the end of the day. But it is, reminiscent of the team and how they relied upon him for so many years, and he delivered. You live or die by the heroes that you have, and ultimately, I think that's what this is.
Definitely. But I will say, and I know it's not the exact same, but when Sweden were trying to qualify for the World Cup in 2018, they stopped calling up Zlatan. And what happened? They actually qualified and honestly had a great tournament. And the moment they stopped calling Zlatan Ibrahimovic one of the best, it was actually Sweden's best years. I'm not saying it's the same as Ronaldo, especially since Ronaldo's still performing at such a high level. But what I am saying is I don't want to hear it. If Ronaldo plays and people criticize him, I'm not going to listen to it because it's up to Martinez to be like, all right, I have 10 of the best attackers in the world. If he thinks Ronaldo's a part of that, play him. If he doesn't, don't play him. I don't want any excuses.
I guess I disagree. I think all the players will also buy into it too. They're all just as thankful to Ronaldo for what he's done.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I see a lot of comments in the Portuguese section saying like, I love Ronaldo, but give this new generation a chance.
For sure. I'm saying the players themselves. I think they see Ronaldo as just such an icon of the country that they're going to be pro Ronaldo no matter what. And especially the mentality he provides to the team, the energy. And ultimately, Zlatan is Zlatan. He ain't Ronaldo.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be straight up with you. He ain't Ronaldo.
But he's the same impact for Sweden, right? Sweden never had a star.
For sure. But I think Ronaldo is just one of two top players we've ever seen all time.
All time.
So I think that's why I differentiate that. But ultimately, I do want to highlight the rest of the team. Because we've touched on the Ronaldo topic, and I'd love to know where the people stand on this. Are you with Soltero on this? Or are you with me in the sense of Ronaldo's role for this team and how you foresee it happening at this tournament? But as for the rest of the team, I'm in love. Dude, I'm in love.
Yeah.
I'm in love, bro, because we talk so highly about England and how they have such a deep squad, but not just that. So many other players are in form. I think Portugal is actually very, very similar. Mm-hmm. One thing that I noticed off the bat is that in every sector of the pitch, they have a young rising star who just had a really good season. Let me go through them. At goalkeeper, Diego Costa, 24 years old now, had another really good for FC Porto. I could see him making a big offseason move to a bigger club, whether it's in the Prem or La Liga. I think his time will come very soon because he just had another really good year. In the defensive positions, I have three guys that stood out for Portugal this year. Diego Dalot was voted Manchester United's best player of the season. I think he definitely improved his play overall. Nuno Mendes has been incredible for PSG, also so young, also improving. And then Gonçalo Inácio, who just won the Portuguese title with Sporting CP, might actually have an argument for starting right alongside Ruben Diaz in that back line or alongside Dani Pereira. He might have an argument because of the way that he's played so far, and I think he's only like 20 years old. So he had another really good year. In the midfield, the one and only Vitinha.
Yeah.
What a season, bro. I loved everything I saw from him. I put that pressure on him early on in the year as to carrying PSG's workload after offloading Verratti and really becoming the main man in their midfield. And this dude stepped up every single match. He had such big moments in the Champions League and in the league specifically. He's the next great Portuguese midfielder, in my opinion. I'm excited to see his inclusion into the squad. And you mentioned 3 Portuguese players who should be in the starting 11 right off the bat. I think Vitinha has to be that 4th player that should be an immediate starting player for this team. What a season. And then up top, Rafael Leao with a 15-goal, 12 assists for AC Milan this season. And Pedro Neto having his best year for Wolves, getting 10 assists as well. Jeez. These guys are all, I believe, under 25 years old, and they all had really good seasons. And I think that's really good to kind of fill out the holes of this team now, because sometimes you have young players that might not be ready for the moment, are still kind of rising, still working to prominence. But I think all these guys have really grown into their roles at their club teams and are not prepared for the big stage of the international scene.
This Portuguese squad is so fun to piece together because, like you said, when you look at every single player, they're in such good form. Question I have for you and maybe for the audience as well is, who is going to be that third midfielder? If we say Fernandes is the attack, Vitinha is kind of just the all-around midfielder, who's going to be that third guy?
Palhinha.
It definitely could be Palhinha as the box-to-box, more defensive-minded. But I wonder, because Martinez has not found, or maybe more so, he has not decided to show who his 2 starting pivots are behind Fernandes. He's rotated them out in every single game. Obviously, he has that luxury because this Portuguese squad is so stacked. But I mean, you could go with maybe more free-flowing Otavio if you need that offensive option. You could go with Ruben Neves, who is still playing at an incredibly high level. There's so much that you could do and rotate in with that Portuguese midfield. And then up top, too, think the players that they can bring off the bench are still in really good form too. Besides Silva and Rafael Leao, for example, João Felix, coming off probably his happiest season of his footballing career. And honestly, I think a more happy, free-flowing Felix is actually really good for this Portuguese side, because if Silva, needs some rest, you can bring on Felix and he can bring that same trickery, the same directness that Silva has, and you don't lose that much by starting a player like Felix. So I just think that Portugal have so many different options in the midfield and in the offensive line, and they're all in such good form.
They have to make semis. I have them. They have to make semis. That's my expectation for them. Anything less, I think, is a disappointment for the level of quality in this team. Get to the semifinals, and from there, who knows what happens. Get a final appearance and maybe lift the Euros once again. CR7 goes out on top. That's what I want to see for this Portuguese squad. I do think they're going to be one of the more fun teams to watch in this tournament, and I'm excited to see what Portugal can do at the Euros.
I'm applying the same pressure that I'm applying to England and France for this Portuguese side. Has to go semis. The squad is simply too stacked. Everyone's in such good form. I actually believe in this Portuguese side. When you look at the way they've been playing over the last 12 months, it's super promising, more so than I've seen and going into other tournaments for Portugal. Give me a semifinals appearance for this side.
They are in a group with Georgia, Turkey, and Czech Republic. Let's actually talk about Georgia.
Talk about
Georgia, man. Coached by Willy Sagnol, the Frenchman, ranked number 75. But here's the beautiful thing, man. Georgia is making their debut at the Euros. So congratulations to them.
Beautiful, dude. I love this.
Beautiful achievement, man, with guys like Marmar. Here we go. The names. Please excuse the names, man. I am a Mexican man trying to pronounce Georgian names. Here we go. Marmardashvili, the goalkeeper from Valencia. Kiteshvili, Kokarashvili. And then the biggest name for me, Kivica Carvalhaskelia. I can say that one easily. Cavaradona, 11 goals and 6 assists for Serie A side Napoli this year, playing incredible wing football. I think this Georgian team is going to have a really rough time here, bro. I think they're going to have a really rough time at this tournament. But the thing is, it's not about that. It's not about this tournament, and it's not about the 2026 FIFA World Cup either, because I don't think they're working towards that. For Georgia, it's about the next 10 years, bro. It's about setting the blueprint for success at the international, and you can even say domestic level for them, so that they can see the sport grow in their country. Because what I'm seeing after doing my research is that there's a lot of love and passion for the sport in Georgia, bro. Dude. A lot. And they're really eager to get the ball rolling over there and to really start investing in their infrastructure and growing the sport in Georgia. So that's what I think Georgia qualifying for the Euros represents, is more so what they're trying to do at the local level, bro. Just trying to grow the sport in their country. And I think that's a beautiful story.
It was absolute scenes in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, when Georgia beat Greece on penalties to qualify for this tournament, man. Truly, it actually brought a tear to my eye when I watched that game because there was so much passion out on that pitch. You already said it. The fans of football in Georgia are one of the most passionate out there. There's no difference between a Georgian fan and an English fan when it comes to football, man. Yeah. And the fact that this was basically a final for Georgia when they played Greece in their home country in front of a sellout crowd. I was just like, God damn it, like anything's possible in football, man. And UEFA, FIFA, they've built a beautiful structure with this game, bro. They truly have, because if I'm born in Georgia and I get an opportunity like that for my country to qualify for a major tournament, I'm blessed, man. Yeah. I'm blessed. So shout out to the country of Georgia, to the players, to the people. I hope they have a good tournament. And the thing is, I do think they have some players that can create some havoc, that can play some serious ball, bro. To kind of re-highlight those players, Mamardashvili is actually fantastic at Valencia. He is the starting goalkeeper in La Liga. I think that's huge. To have a guy who's so experienced at the back, commanding the back line, that's brilliant. You go to the midfield, you have Kochorashvili, who, if you know anything about Levante midfielders, they have a little bit of filth to them, and you see that when he's on the pitch. He always goes for the meg, always goes for the dirty play, and I love that when players just say, fuck it, I'm going to entertain rather than just play football. But beyond Kochorashvili, they have a really good energy. Maybe not the best talent, but every single player for Georgia gives absolutely everything, and I don't think they're going to miss this opportunity. They know they might not ever make it here again, or if they do, it might be a while. So I think for Georgia, this is an aspect of, all right, let's just give our best here. Let's look for not even the near future, but let's just establish something beautiful here. And if we qualify for the World Cup, great, we're improving. If we don't, all right, let's just keep working, because there's so many cool players that Georgia have. Kiteshvili as well, who did the impossible with Sturm Graz and actually won the Austrian Bundesliga over the mighty Salzburg, ending a 10-year run in Austria for them. That was really cool for Kiteshvili, and he was a big aspect, big creator for them in that midfield. Ziv Zivadze is a really good worker up top, and then of course Kvaratskhelia, right? One of the better Georgian players, maybe the best all time. Incredible dribble driver, if there ever was one. So I love the energy when those Georgian players get on the ball. Obviously, the quality's not as high, but hey, man, at least they try. At least they try to play really good progressive football, and they don't just park the bus. That's why I really like Georgia. They're not afraid. They might get killed here. They might not, though. I honestly don't know. It's hard to tell. I will say that UEFA threw them a bone to get in here, bro. They were behind Spain, Scotland, and Norway. They were in fourth
place.
Yeah, so definitely lucky to be here, but hey,
I don't think they're going to be complaining about that.
I don't think they're going to be complaining, bro. Man. So I'm really excited just to even watch Georgia play. And another little fun fact is, there's been a debut team at every single Euros since the Euros started back in 1960.
Gosh, really?
So they continue that trend by Georgia getting here.
Wow. Amazing job by the Georgians to get into this tournament. Congratulations to them. Here's the biggest question that I will pose to the audience and to you. Do they finish in third or fourth?
Let's just end on a good note, man.
We can answer it later. Brother, it's fourth.
Probably fourth.
It's fourth, man.
It's probably fourth.
It's fourth. They got fourth.
But maybe if they can beat Czechia, right? Maybe third. Maybe. Albania got a really surprise third place result when they qualified in 2016. I think Georgia have it in them to do it. It's going to be difficult, though, for sure.
I think I have just as many questions about Czech Republic as I do of Georgia. So I actually think those two are really interchangeable, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about Czech
Republic, coached by Ivan Hasic, ranked number 36 in FIFA's rankings, and they finished in the Euros qualifying in second place above Poland and under Albania, failing to beat Albania twice. And we've spoken about Albania's level, giving them credit, but ultimately we predicted they would get fourth place in their respective group. This team lost to them twice. This team has Thomas Souček from West Ham, Kufal from West Ham as well. Adam I can't say this one. Hlosik from Bayer Leverkusen, Dudera, Thomas Holz, David Zima, Lukas Provod, Patrick Schick from Bayer Leverkusen as well. They have some names. I think more notable names than I would say than Georgia, if I'm being honest, when it comes to the amount of players that they have. This is their 7th consecutive Euros. They've reached the quarters in 2020, which is super, super notable. But honestly, for me, I don't really know this team. I don't really know this team. This is one of those teams that I'm excited to see once the tournament starts, to see how they perform in all 3 matches to really get a gauge of how good they are, because I know the players, but as a team, I can't really get a gauge based off the results, based off the research. I just can't really get a good sense of what Czech Republic team will show up at the Euros this time around. So I'm asking you, what do you know about Czech Republic to inform me, to maybe help me decide whether they get 3rd or 4th ultimately in this group?
Well, dude, I think your uncertainty is actually shared by the entire Czechia country.
Well, that doesn't help, bro.
It doesn't help.
That doesn't help at all.
Because they had such a frustrating qualifying campaign, because they had Poland and Albania in it. And you look at the players that Czechia have, they should have topped this group, bro. And it was so bad from the frustration was so loud from the people of Czechia that the coach actually stepped down after they qualified. He couldn't take the criticism. He actually tweeted or said in a conference after their last match, he was like, I don't understand the criticism, but there's nothing I can do. We qualify for another Euros, but I'm stepping down. I can't do this anymore. Wow. It was that bad. People were just frustrated with the way they're playing. They weren't getting the results that they expected from the squad because, I mean, dude, you look at it, you already named some of them. Lukas Provo, Černý, Dodera, the West Ham, Kufal, Souček. This is top quality. Patrick Schick was the top goal scorer 3 years ago in the Euros, by the way. So you take that all into account to finish under Albania, no disrespect, it's not good, man. Yeah. So I think this Czechia team's a little lost. Their coach has only had 2 games under his belt with this squad. Okay. And so I think uncertainty is the way you should be feeling about this Czechia team. There's no real way to know if they show up or not. The quality is there, but to play Portugal, that'll be interesting. And it's why I kind of give Georgia somewhat of a chance to take advantage of this confused Czechia side.
I can see that. Now I can see that. That makes sense to me now, man. It's there.
It's there. But overall, I'll say Czechia finish in 3rd, Georgia 4th. I'll still finish it that way, but hey, that Georgia Czechia game I think is gonna be really interesting.
That's how I have it. All right, then moving on over to the last team to preview of this Euros. It's Turkey, baby. Turkey, coached by Vincenzo Montella. Ranked number 40 in the FIFA World Rankings. They topped their group with Croatia and Wales involved. In the past 2 years, they have had matches where they defeated Scotland, where they defeated Germany, Croatia, and Wales. But then it gets kind of confusing for me because they've also gone on to lose against Austria, Hungary, Japan in a friendly, and then Croatia too. The names are really solid, though. They got a midfield of Arda Güler, Çalhanoğlu, and Kokshu, which I think is really, really good and definitely their strong point. Yeah. And then they have other players like Demiral. They have another Yilmaz going through the ranks that is going to step up for them offensively. Yeah. And I think this team is really interesting because domestically, the Turkish league continues to grow. I'm seeing good football come out of there. And I think Arda Güler, for example, really represents where the game is going for the Turkish folks because you got a Turkish man lifting the UEFA Champions League trophy for the first time in Turkey's history. Oh shit! Yeah, after Real Madrid last won it. Obviously, he didn't play a single minute of UEFA Champions League football, but still, he was part of the team because there's so much talent to be had there for Arda Güler. So I thought that was really impressive. And Fenerbahce, Galatasaray have been great, I think, recently. Fenerbahce getting Jose Mourinho to come join them as well. Oh yeah, Turkey is just they're on a bit of a rise, or they're trying to make a name for themselves even greater than what it already is in the scene of football. So this Turkish team, I think, really represents that because they've done really well so far. I get a little confused. I get a little confused after seeing the results, how they win some really good matches and then they end up losing some matches where I really thought that they could have gotten a result out of it. That's the only confusing part for me when it comes to Turkey because they're trying to do something special here. I just don't know if I can buy in fully.
Dude, I agree. Copy and paste my concerns with Romania and you'll get my take on Turkey. They had such a good qualifying campaign this time out. They played some really good football in their biggest moments. And They do have some talent, man. I mean, I'll add in a player, Ertuğrul, for Galatasaray, 12 goals, 6 assists this season. He's been fantastic. And in the Champions League, at his best, he was so direct, being able to take players one-on-one. It's a talent that a lot of wingers at this tournament don't have. Ertuğrul has that. You add in the creative midfield of, Çalhanoğlu, and then, of course, the other players, the youngster Arda Güler, and then Barış Alper Yilmaz. There's some really good talent that is young, too, for this Turkish side. But I just don't know if I can buy into it either. I really don't. And the reason why I bring up these concerns is because 3 years ago, they qualified in style for the Euros. And they were in such good form that I even labeled them as dark horses. And I think a lot of people did too.
Yeah.
And you know what they did, dude? At the tournament, they laid a fucking egg, bro. It was bad. They conceded 8 goals and they only scored 1 at the Euros. They only played 3 games, bro. They only played 3 games and they conceded 8 goals. God. They were atrociously bad. And the same thing could happen like here. Maybe not as bad, but it just is another case that does qualifying mean anything for non-established teams? It's tough, man. It's really tough to tell. I will say I do think this Turkish side is better than they were 3 years ago because I think they're more established in their roles. I think the players are more determined to win just because I think the Turkish side that they relied on 3 years ago had a lot more veterans trying to take over the team. Now it really is just this is a new generation of Turkish players. They have a name to make for themselves, and I think they believe in the ideas that Montella is trying to employ for this team. So I do think Turkey will have a better time out. Considering the group they're in, I do think they can get out though. I think they can get out, but for me, I think overall, I don't know if I can say higher than round of 16 for this Turkish side.
I was thinking about this, bro. I don't think there's a team more clear in the entire Euros that has round of 16 written all over it, man. I think the gap between Turkey, Czech Republic, and Georgia is very clear. I think they have second place in the bag.
Yeah.
They're not going to defeat Portugal. I think that's pretty certain. So they'll get second place. They're going to go to the round of 16, and they're going to lose in that phase of the tournament. I am so sure of that I will put a bet on it. I'll say if Turkey gets past the round of 16, I'll go to Turkey and get a fucking hair transplant.
Whoa.
No,
Take that back, bro. You know what the internet can do, man.
That's how sure I am, bro. I'm that certain that they're going to get out in the round of 16. They're going to have bad luck with a bad drawing in that round, and it's going to end for them right there. I'm not rooting for their demise here. If anything, this is an improvement after what happened at the Euros 2020. I just think that this team has a limitation on it, and I think that limitation is round of 16.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they actually undo how poor they were 3 years ago. And maybe they can show something brilliant in the round of 16 and qualify for a nice quarters, and then it ends there. That would be amazing for Turkey. And then they can build off of that. Qualify themselves for a World Cup. Do better in 4 years' time at the Euros. Build off of this new generation of Turkish players. I think this is a really good starting point for Turkey. But yeah, I just think they have definite limitations that will most likely end in a round of 16.
I just wonder what their best version looks like, because I know there's going to be Turkish fans out there that are like, nah, you don't believe in this team.
I know.
I'm like, well, what is the best version of Turkey? Is it a quarterfinal appearance? Is it going as far as semis? I don't know if I see that for them this year, man. I don't, but I would love I would love to be proven wrong. I really, really would. So to round out Group F, we actually have the same predictions on this one. Portugal first, Turkey second, Czech Republic third, Georgia fourth. If you disagree or agree with us, let us know in the comments right now, because we're interested to hear all your takes and everything you have regarding the Euros 2024. That finalizes our roundup so far. What an incredible roundup it has been. Yeah. Previewing and predicting these 6 groups in the Euros. And folks, it does not stop here. We will have live streams. We will have so much content, shorts, anything you want regarding the Euros, OFC Nations Cup, and Copa America. A lot of football talk is coming in the next month. So subscribe and stay in touch with us, because it's about to get wild. Here we go. Euros 2024, baby. I can't wait.